So good evening. Welcome to the council meeting. So if I'll call this meeting, I guess, of closed session. So direction given, no action taken. So with that, we'll call this meeting to order. And if you will please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance and then remain standing. And Councilman Lasan will do the invocation.
Father God, I humbly come before you and praise your holy name. Praise you for all the gifts you shower upon this town and the members and the residents of it. And Father, we come before you and we ask for you to grant us a measure of wisdom as we debate the issues before us. And Father, we also praise you for the season that we're in. We pray for safety and our first responders. We pray for health for those who are sick. And Father, we just pray for joy that we would love each other as a community and share the joys with each other, and that we would be willing to step out and help those in need. And Father, we say and pray all of this in your Son's name, Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Amen.
Amen. So Melanie, roll call.
Roll call. Councilmember Bullen.
Here.
Councilmember Culleton.
Here.
Councilmember Lang. Here. Councilmember Lasan.
Here.
And Mayor Crowder.
Here. So, yeah, no, I got it here. So I have an item here, 1E, which is a certificate of recognition for Tom Ummenhofer. And I'm going to pass this on to Councilmember Lasan to talk about and present.
Thank you, Mayor Crowder. Yeah, I'm pleased to be able to present this to Tim. Now, granted, it's for his undying devotion to the community and his stewardship in preserving Billy Park. And granted, that's run by the Parks and Rec Department, but here in the town, we love to recognize the unsung heroes, regardless of where they're working, those that are helping the town come back, those that are keeping things nice for our residents, and also attracting possibly new residents. And one of the things we have, a jewel in our crown, is the park system we have here in the town. So Tim, if you would come forward, and I'd like to present to you a Town of Paradise certificate of recognition, and let me read it. Stay right there. I'll be right down in a second. Stay right there. Let me just read it and let everybody hear what we're saying about you. Town of Paradise Certificate of Recognition is hereby presented to Tim, how do you pronounce your last name? Ummenhofer, just like it's spelled. Thank you. For his dedication to the community and his stewardship in preserving Billy Park, recognized this 9th day of December, 2025, signed by Steve Crowder, Mayor of the Town of Paradise. Again. If you haven't seen the bathrooms in Billy Park and all the other things that surround it, and you're amazed at how clean it is and how well maintained it is. This is the man that, as a volunteer, he does that work. Now, granted, there's other people that work in the park, but he has a dedication there, and he's always out there looking for things to improve the park and make it look great for the town. So thank you so much for Thank you.
Okay, so item 1F is the year in review. So I've got kind of a highlight of some of our accomplishments, and there's many more that aren't here. And we did have challenges this year, but we had a lot more highlights, so here goes. Rebuilding progress, 327 new single-family homes completed, 102 new multifamily units completed. Sewer project, adopted a new direction featuring local treatment and a phased approach aligned with available funding. Roadway improvements, significant roadway repaving completed across town. Undergrounding utilities, major undergrounding efforts are nearing completion, improving safety and reliability. Healthcare plan, the town's community strategic healthcare recovery plan is in its final stages of development. Downtown strategy, nearing completion, setting the foundation for a vibrant and resilient downtown core. BizPro Academy, successfully held, providing valuable training and support for local businesses. Utility box mural program, 6 murals completed, 9 more scheduled for installation in the coming months. Tree removal, Category 4 hazardous tree removal program completed. Emergency notification, funding awarded for in-home siren units with distribution now underway. Home hardening, program is well underway supporting wildfire resilience across the community. Defensible space, over 90% compliance rate achieved at an all-time high. General plan update, consultants selected and work is actively underway. Modernized permitting, new permitting software is implemented to streamline customer service and efficiency. Police department, fully staffed and now providing a dedicated school resource officer serving Paradise schools. And on the police department note, let me just say, everybody say a little prayer for our injured officer. He's doing okay. But you know, it's funny, you guess you kind of think we live in a bubble here and things like that can't happen here. Well, they did. And I just want our thoughts and prayers to go out to he and his family for a full and speedy recovery. So with that, that's it on that. And so now we go, yeah. So we turn it over to Melanie.
Good evening. So I will read the election process for the mayor and the vice mayor, and then we'll open for nominations. I will open for nominations for mayor. Any council member may nominate any other council member. No motion is necessary. The town clerk will ask for a motion and a second, and a council vote to close the nominations for mayor. As we've done in past years, the town clerk will take a roll call vote on each council member nominated in the order of nomination. When one council member receives a majority or 3 affirmative votes, he or she will be deemed selected as mayor for a 1-year term, and there will be no further vote on any subsequent nominees. Then I will turn the meeting over to the new mayor as the presiding officer, and we'll repeat those steps.
I nominate Steve Crowder for mayor.
Second.
Thank you.
Do we have any more nominations for mayor?
I move that nominations be closed.
Second.
Motion by Lasson, seconded by Culleton to close the nominations. Councilmember Bolin?
So I've never voted against anybody, and I'm not going to tonight. But because of the fact that we spent so much money on the former manager and the building department, I'm going to abstain from this vote.
Councilmember Crowder? Crowder?
Aye.
Councilmember Culleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Lang?
Aye.
And Councilmember Lasson.
Aye.
So that was to close the nominations. Now it is the roll call vote to elect Councilmember Crowder as mayor. So Councilmember Bolin.
Same, abstain.
Councilmember Crowder.
Aye.
Councilmember Colleton.
Aye.
Councilmember Lang.
Aye.
And Councilmember Lasson.
Aye.
And Steve Crowder is voted as mayor.
So thank you.
I'm going to open the nominations for vice mayor.
Yes. So I'm going to open the nominations for vice mayor, and I'm going to nominate Woody. We seem to have a pretty good unity last year and like to keep it that way, so that would be my nomination.
Any more nominations? Okay, is there a motion to close the nominations?
Nominations be closed. That needs a second.
Second?
I'll second.
So motion by Colleton, seconded by Crowder to close the nominations. Now a roll call vote to close the nominations. Councilmember Bullen?
Aye.
Councilmember Colleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Lang?
Aye.
Councilmember Lasson?
Aye.
And Mayor Crowder?
Aye.
And then we will hold a roll call vote to elect Councilmember Colleton as vice mayor. Councilmember Bullen?
Aye.
Councilmember Colleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Lang?
Aye.
Councilmember Lasson?
Aye.
And Mayor Crowder?
Aye.
And Councilmember Colleton is elected as vice mayor.
Thanks, Steve.
Okay, so before we get to item 1H, I just want to read a little housekeeping tips here. I did this last month, so speakers are allowed 3 minutes to speak. When time is up, please stop. When speaking, please address the council only, not staff or audience. Keep comments respectful and language G-rated. After any member of the public speaks on an issue, no clapping or booing. And the reason being is we want to hear both sides of the discussion to be heard and not discourage or embarrass anyone to speak due to the audience appearing to support or oppose what is being discussed. Inappropriate behavior, including personal attacks or threats directed towards any meeting participant and/or town employee, will not be tolerated. And with that, thank you for your understanding and cooperation. So with that, let's go to item 1H, campfire recovery updates. Written reports are included in the packet. Colette, any questions for Colette? Okay. Mark Maddox, Public Works Director, Town Engineer, Infrastructure and Sewer Updates. Any questions for Mark? Okay. Item 1I, Paradise Sewer Project Update by Town Engineer Mark Maddox.
Thank you, Mayor Crowder. Good evening, Council. This evening's update for the sewer is pretty brief. There's been a lot of administrative work as far as working on our contract that Council recently awarded for the design of our wastewater treatment facility. So that's well underway, as well as resuming our work with our collection system design team now that we have fully transitioned from a progressive design build approach to just a design bid build approach, meaning that at the conclusion of the design, the projects for the wastewater treatment facility and the collection system will be publicly bid and competed for. So that's really good news. We've made progress on that effort, and then we've also initiated some environmental surveys at potential wastewater treatment facility sites. We've been working on ongoing right of entry agreements for those sites and had some successes and some challenges, but overall we're right on track for the schedule, resuming major environmental work, as well as tracking for the spring for the commencement of our CEQA public engagement process once the investigations are complete for the revisions in our subsequent environmental impact report. In the next month, we'll continue our design, or finish our design contract negotiations with Carollo. Our project website is constantly being updated. There's been some new FAQs added with some updates on the environmental process itself. And then again, we're going to see work advance on the collection system design contract, and as well as the preparation of that subsequent EIR. So pretty light, but also behind the scenes, very heavy work going on for the sewer, and glad to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for Mark? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Mark. So item 2, consent calendar. Do I hear a motion?
What's the resolution number 2025 on?
78.
I move approval. Second.
Motion by Bullen, seconded by Colleton. Councilmember Bullen?
Aye.
Councilmember Colleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Lang?
Aye.
Councilmember Lasson?
Aye.
And Mayor Carter?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay. We have no items removed from consent, so item 4, public communication. Any cards, Melanie?
I have no cards. No cards? No cards.
Okay. Anybody want to speak before we move on? It's about anything that isn't on our agenda? Okay. Okay, so public hearings. So we have hold a duly noticed and published public hearing and concur with the project CEQA determination finding presented and considered by Planning Commission. Susan?
Thank you, Mayor Crowder. So as mentioned, tonight's public hearing item is about the backyard chickens and rabbit ordinance. And then again, while in your staff report, just going over a little bit of the ordinance history. Backyard chickens first became a thing in 2010 when some public members approached council about the opportunity to have a limited number of chickens and rabbits on residentially zoned properties to be considered as pets and not as livestock, which did and still does require a livestock permit. So the council gave direction back to staff to prepare an ordinance for the amount of chickens and rabbits, 2 to 4, and bring that back for their consideration. It went to the Planning Commission, who reviewed it, voiced some concerns in terms of compatibility with the neighbors, potential for increased code enforcement, potential impacts on property values, and they ended up making a recommendation to not adopt that ordinance with a 3-to-1 vote. So that came back for consideration with the council, who still moved forward with the ordinance, and that's what you see in the municipal code today, is that same ordinance from 2010, which allows up to 2 hens and 2 rabbits on any residentially zoned property with a 75-foot setback from a neighboring residence. And again, so that means that for the first 16 years of the current general plan and all that zoning that's been in place since that general plan was adopted, the only way to have any kind of chickens and rabbits was under a livestock permit for the first 16 years. And then for the last 15 years, you've been able to have the 2 and 2 without a permit. And anything above that, you'd be subject to a livestock permit if you had enough land to do it. So the time frame of the current amendments in September, council gave direction back to staff after a public hearing, asking staff to prepare an ordinance that would allow for an unlimited amount of chickens, hens, on residentially zoned properties and reduce that 75-foot setback down to 20 feet. Those revisions were taken to the Planning Commission for consideration. They made some additional revisions to it in terms of rabbits, roosters, setbacks. Between that commission meeting in October and tonight's public hearing, staff continued to do more research, meeting with county agencies, state representatives, to be able to present tonight any other considerations or just items that the council needed to know about to make the most informed decision tonight about any amendments to this ordinance. Any constraints that might be out there that weren't discussed in September, that we want to make sure that the council has the full picture before we open it up for a public discussion. So again, council's direction, unlimited number of chickens on residentially zoned properties, reduce the setback from 75 feet to 20 feet to a neighboring residence. No changes for number of chickens or rabbits. Commission's recommendation, they agreed with the unlimited number of chickens. They also added 1 rooster per every residentially zoned property. They agreed with a reduction in the setbacks, but only to 40 feet, and that's because of a conversation had with an existing ordinance that 20 feet would conflict with. It needed to be at least 30 feet. So the recommendation was actually 40 feet to do that, and that would be from any structure because that was based on building code setbacks. And then for number of rabbits, they made a recommendation of up to 12 rabbits on any property that was less than an acre, 36 rabbits if it was an acre or larger. So this was in your staff report. It's just to highlight again, staff went through and looked at 10 other neighboring jurisdictions to see what their backyard chicken ordinances were. We were interested to see, did everybody else allow backyard chickens? If so, how many? Were they based on just a flat number or was it square footage based? And then what kind of conditions did they apply to those ordinances as well? So there was only one, and that was in Corning, where all chickens required a permit, but everybody else had some provision for backyard permits, or backyard chickens. And then the comparison between all of those jurisdictions. On average, you're looking at 6 to 7 chickens per residential property. More often than not, it was just a flat number versus based on the size of the property. But in no cases were unlimited chickens permitted. And then the average setback to neighboring residences was 40 feet. But I do find it important to note that not all the jurisdictions that were researched were in high fire severity zones, so they may not have been subject to the same kind of setbacks between structures as Paradise is. So just keep that in mind. So as part of this process, this is what staff does, is find out any constraints and considerations, again, that the council needs to be aware of, just so you make the most informed decision. This is not a means to say no to what's being asked or that we didn't understand what was being asked. It's just so the council has the full picture before you make your decision. So one of the items that we took a look at was the California Building and Fire Codes. We actually had a conversation with the State Fire Marshal's office to clarify a 2016 bulletin that they had published that said non-wildland urban interface built accessory structures that were 120 square feet or less could be as close as 30 feet from an occupiable structure. We did clarify that that bulletin is outdated and superseded by current building codes, and they really need to be 50 feet away. The second item that we wanted to present to council was about the State Department of Water Resources. And these regulations came from a discussion with Butte County Public Health when they were reviewing what the proposal was, letting us know that the state does require a 100-foot setback between animal or fowl enclosures to all water wells. Doesn't matter if it's irrigation or potable, it's to all water wells. And Paradise has over 400 water wells in town. Another one is general plan consistency. So the general plan has a land use designation for all the property in town. Most of it's residential, and we have just over 11,000 parcels in town. 10,096 of those are single-family residential. And of those, 59% have a land use designation of town residential, which are the smaller of the residential properties. In the general plan, it describes that land use designation of being absent of accessory rural structures, particularly the keeping of livestock. Further, there's a government code section that already requires that ordinances be consistent with an adopted general plan. So we needed to make sure that the council was aware that this was already in place in our general plan about the largest percentage of residential properties are meant to be without livestock, which is different than household pets. And then the final thing, just in terms of consideration, is public comment. We know that both at previous council meetings and the commission meeting, there's certainly been in-person verbal comments in favor of changes and increasing the limits, but also I know that the council's been, made aware of emailed in responses also from the public, and not all in favor of that. And just making sure that all comments be considered when we are making this decision. So based on those constraints, staff has submitted a revised ordinance that the hope is it does increase the count of rabbits and chickens from what they are today, but it lives within those constraints that we know about with existing laws and general plan consistency that can satisfy all of those things so that it is legally defendable and it's a valid ordinance. So for chickens and rabbits, the recommendation would be to limit the number to 12 total with any combination of the two. If you want 12 rabbits and no chickens, okay. Same with 12 chickens and no rabbits, 6 and 6. But the top total is 12 now instead of 2 and 2. And the reason for that is that whatever number that the council wants to pick, it needs to be defendable in court as household pets. And when we already have ordinances limiting things like cats and dogs to 4, you have to be able to make that argument that unlimited chickens are the same as household pets and not being used for just egg production, which is a different definition. And that's where we get into the general plan consistency problem. That's now livestock, when it's just for egg production or breeding. The other recommendation would be to leave roosters as they are right now, which is only available through a livestock permit, which means that the properties need to be large enough to be eligible for a livestock permit. In most cases, that's an acre. If you're zoned rural residential 2/3, it may be a little bit less. But most of them, there's an acre minimum to be eligible for a rooster. And then the last step is about the setbacks. If there's a desire to reduce them, then the recommendation is to reduce it just to 50, so that whether the structure was Ruby rated or not, because these are not things that we inspect or permit typically, that they would be compliant with state building and fire code. We are trying to make the ordinance as simplistic as possible, to make as many things uniform as possible so that it's easier for staff to apply it, it's easier for the public to understand it instead of having varying levels. Well, if you meet these qualifications, these are your rules and this. So we tried to make it as universal as possible. But again, all of these recommended revisions aren't because we don't want to increase it, it's just we want the council to know what the constraints are, and we're just trying to work within those so that the ordinance is valid at the end of the day. And just statistics-wise, I don't know if you know this, but of our residential properties, right? So we have just over 11,000. 6,000 of them have that town residential land use designation. Of those 6,000 parcels, 94% of them are under an acre. 71% of them are under a half acre. The town is not comprised of large vestiges of farmland. They're fairly small parcels. Town-wide, for all the properties, 84% of all of our properties are 1 acre or less. That's just the type of, that's the inventory we have in town. So how will these amendments be applied? For livestock permits, they'd still be required for certain types of poultry and fowl, right? Because that's still defined as ducks, geese, turkeys, roosters, things that wouldn't fall in the backyard, hens and rabbits. And then for any property owner that had the land to be eligible for a livestock permit and wanted more than 12 rabbits and or chickens, the livestock permit could still get you more for those larger properties. Maximum number of animals allowed on a property. So It's already in the definition for animal production that we don't count those backyard chickens and rabbits when we're figuring out what your maximum allocation is for livestock animals. So if you wanted some goats, some pigs, some other kind of animals under a livestock permit, those backyard chickens and rabbits don't count against you. We don't have to count the square footages for them. It's just the other livestock animals. And we don't have to change anything. That's just the way that the definitions are already in the municipal code. Next is about existing livestock permits, right? We've got hundreds of these issued in the last 30 years. And so if there are some issued for folks who had wanted more than 2 hens, so maybe it allowed them 6, you can apply to modify your livestock permit and then use that extra square footage for a different kind of livestock instead. So that's an option too. And then about the setbacks, just being clear that some properties are going to have 2 setbacks, right? One about the animal or the chicken enclosure from any occupiable structure, and then they may be a property that's affected by a nearby well. And so they may have also that 100-foot setback from the well in addition to the house setback. So I wanted to be very clear about that. And again, even if we change nothing and it's still, it's still the 75-foot setback, that well setback is still at a state level. We still have to comply with it. When we take in livestock permits right now, we already route these to environmental health to vet that and give us that feedback. We have lists where wells are, but we want to make sure that we're capturing all of that. We're not the permitting agency for wells. The county still is. We just clear them to make sure they're clear of septic systems, but we still have them give us feedback for livestock permits every time. So just want to make sure that everybody understood that there could still be 2 setbacks for properties. So the council action requested tonight would be to conduct the public hearing, introduce Ordinance 653, which would be amending Title 17 of the PMC regarding the keeping of backyard chickens and rabbits. And then if council had any questions for me, I'm happy to answer. Otherwise, I'll step aside so you can discuss.
Quick one there.
Yes.
One of the reasons they've asked for an increased number of chickens is in order to have an increased number of eggs. How is 12 chickens equal to a household pet when we only have 2 cats and 2 dogs? And the whole reason for the increase is for egg production. It sure sounds like livestock to me. How did you come with 12 and say it's equal to
So
household
that
pets?
is definitely the upper limit. You'll see in the staff report, I say somewhere between 6 and 12 seems like a defendable number, because if we had to go to court to defend this and we showed here are neighboring jurisdictions, 12 appears to be towards the upper end of that limit, right? So that's where it's coming from, is based on what the other 10 are doing. I'm not saying that that's bulletproof, but I think it's a good case to be made.
So I have a question. So with the WUI changing, so that puts any structure, which would include this, has to be 50 feet if it's not WUI from the structure, correct?
That is correct.
So, and if it is WUI compliant, it can be within 10 feet?
10 foot of an occupiable structure, that is correct. The difficulty in capturing that exact nuance is because backyard chickens and rabbits aren't through permit. So they're getting set up without inspection or verification of these structures. But you're absolutely right. If it's WUI built, it can be up to 10 feet from an occupiable structure. I think that we'd all still want to consider the neighboring structures, but
Great, thank you.
yes.
Yeah, I would then say that for all structures, whether they're WUI or not, if they're for chickens, they have to be the same distance away that whatever we agree on, whether it's 50 feet or we stick with the 75 feet or something like that, or 40 feet. It should be equal across all of them, whether they're WUI compliant or not, because it's not the fire hazard that a lot of folks are complaining, it's the smell hazard that they're complaining about.
That is true.
Yeah, but the idea that if it's WUI compliant, you can have a structure within 10 feet of your home. You know, and odor and noise and everything, those are other complaints, those are other issues. I'm just saying that we can't change codes like that. I mean, if you buy a tin chicken coop that's fireproof, that meets the RUI standards, or you make it out of bricks, right? It could be 10 feet from your garage or whatever. My question was,
Yes, sir.
and this is, there's no agenda attached to this. I'm just curious, like,
Yeah.
so on livestock permits, if you wanted more than 12
Mm-hmm.
rabbits and chickens, you would need to get a livestock permit.
That is correct. And then there is a certain square footage associated
Okay.
with every one of those animals.
Yeah.
It's 1,500 for chickens. I'm not sure. I think the rabbits are a little bit less of land.
But,
Mm-hmm.
but then on that maximum number, if I have pigs and goats and whatever, a cow and stuff, because I'm, you know, sustainable and
Yes.
I'm off the grid, off my rocker, you know, it's just ironic that if I want just 12 chickens or I want 13 chickens, I got to get a livestock permit if I have the square footage, I have the land and all the other conditions. But if I have other animals, then they don't count.
So what did?
It's
Let me,
kinda like-
no, I
you know what I
appreciate
mean?
you
It's
saying
just
this because I realize I could describe that better. So when you look in the municipal code, the line items for each kind of livestock, so there's swine, there's goats, you know, there's cows, horses. There's a maximum number of each of those animals that
Okay.
you can have on your property if you're under 5 acres, which,
Right.
based on the statistics,
Every-
most properties are under
everything
5
is, yeah,
acres, yes.
yeah.
So chickens, 36 is your max. But that's under permit. If you were to raise the limit to 12 on the backyard hens, they don't count as part of that 36.
Okay. No, that makes sense.
That's what I meant.
Yeah,
I'm so
that's-
sorry.
because you
Yes.
have to know that other part of the code.
exactly,
that deals
exactly.
with livestock
You're absolutely right.
to
So some of the
understand.
others, you know, you can't have
Yeah, that-
100 cows even if you had the land for it.
Yeah.
There is a limit for each one of those categories.
So I was interested in what we're gonna, if we vote on this, or when we get to vote on this. So I see that we had recommended get rid of roosters. And the planning commission said, let's put roosters back in to residential lots. I know I've gotten a few calls from residents and my constituents that have roosters and what have you, you know. So what is the recommended change that we're making? Are we gonna
No,
allow roosters
the
or not?
recommendation is to leave it how it is right now, which the only way to have a rooster is through a livestock permit.
You're right. Yeah, and that, okay, so that's the
it.
recommendation.
Yeah, because council didn't make a recommendation to allow roosters in the backyard definition. They're still under
Okay.
livestock.
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
Good, that answers my
Okay.
concern about that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
One more question
Okay,
on the
of
10 feet
course.
versus 50 feet.
Yes, of course.
Is that 10 feet from the neighbor's house too, or is it 10 feet from the resident's house?
So the building code doesn't care about your house or the neighboring houses. It's any WUI built structure can, you know, you can be as close as 10 feet. That's because each
Yeah.
structure has a 5-foot non-combustible around it. We have that rule. It's the council's pleasure about if you allow WUI rated structures to be as close as 10 feet, do you want to allow them to also be that close to the neighboring
I would
residents?
vote against something like that.
Right?
I'll tell
Or do you
right
say
now.
that it can only be 10 feet if it's on your own property?
Right.
And WUI built?
10
It's-
feet from the neighbor's property is just, doesn't make any sense at all with all the complaints I'm getting about the smells.
You know, that brings up an interesting point. It has
Yes.
nothing to do with rabbits or chickens.
Okay.
But because the codes now say that non-WUI structures,
Yeah.
and I don't know what the definition in the code is of structures. So if my neighbor builds a wooden fence within, that's non-WUI compliant, within 50 feet of my dwelling that I'm living in, you know, I mean, it's not a discussion for now, but it just made me think about, I think about odd things.
Well, that's not the case. So,
Yeah.
that's not the case. That's a whole different thing. If that's not the case, you can have that fence, so.
So, one other question. So, how many of most of the parcels out here, can they achieve that 50-foot? And I know, you know, you're going to have to generalize here because there are going to be some where it's not going to be able to happen. But for the most part, will that number allow people to, I mean, maybe they have to set it at an angle or place it further back on their lot than they want it, but will they be able to accomplish that?
So I think really the main setback that would prove to be most difficult is between the chicken enclosure and their own house, because they're already having to meet 75 from the neighbors, right? So we're only asking potentially for 50. It's their own house, right? They might have to scoot it back a little bit more.
So then your correction there would be to have it WUI compliant.
Right, if they needed to get it up to like 10 feet from their
Okay.
own house, right? But it shouldn't be any more impactful than today's ordinance, because today requires even further setbacks from the neighbors.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I think you guys have done a really great job. It's a very difficult thing. I know we have people that eat a lot of eggs and are chicken people and all that stuff, and kudos for them. But one of the things that I think it's important the public knows, our Paradise Police Department is here to protect the citizens and keep us safe and fight against crime and stuff. We don't have a chicken police department. And all of our codes that we have on the books are complaint-driven. So code enforcement or the town authorities will only come out to look at a house or a chicken farm or whatever if a complaint has been filed. We don't drive around counting chickens in people's yards. So people should be aware of that. I mean, if your neighbor complains about the odor of your chickens or the number of chickens or your rooster, then somebody's going to visit you and say, hey, and show you where you're compliant or out of compliance. That's how the deal works here. So just so people know that. I mean, whatever we pass, however we change this ordinance, whatever we make allowable, because I was on the council in 2010 and voted for this,
Yes,
and I remember
you were.
back then, man, we had there were roosters everywhere, and roosters are tough. They're not good to eat.
So I'll tell you, I know this hasn't been easy, and no matter what we decide tonight, we're not going to please everybody, and I know that. So we have to make the best decision for the entire town. But I'll tell you, you really put together a good presentation and explained to council the do's and don'ts and why we should and why we shouldn't, and I appreciate that. So with that, any questions for Susan? Well, no, we have to open to public. Okay. So it's 6:43. We'll open this for public comment. Melanie, cards?
First card is Hal Thurston.
Hello, ladies, gentlemen. My name's Hal Thurston, and I'd like to share my personal experience with backyard chickens. Our neighbor built a chicken coop and run against our backyard fence, using it as one wall of the run. It was approximately 50 feet. Actually, I taped it this evening just to make sure it was actually more like 60 feet from our house, from our patio. She started out with a handful of chicken, and pretty soon it's 2 handfuls of chicken, and et cetera. At first it wasn't bad, but as time went by, the smell kept getting stronger. And she swore she'd keep it clean and everything, and I have no doubt that she tried. But the smell kept getting stronger, especially after it rained. It soaked into the soil, came under the fence while we were watering our bushes along the fence. The stench was overwhelming. It impacted the enjoyment of our backyard and the ability to utilize our whole house fan in the evening, trying to get cool air in. Breeze shifted, the whole house stunk. It was bad, really bad. Now, I never made any formal complaint about this because I believe in being neighborly, trying to accommodate your neighbors. But after a couple years of this, I finally was starting to think about making a formal complaint. Haven't, but I was thinking about it. Then, hallelujah, praise the Lord, the coop and the run was moved to approximately 80 feet from our house. Actually, that was the coop, and then the run went even further away from our house. Huge improvement, huge improvement. Although it did take a while for the odor of the poop-saturated dirt along the fence where it originally was to dissipate. But when it did, the problem was pretty much eliminated. And we were able to enjoy our patio again. We use our patio a lot. We invested a lot of money in our patio. And there's nothing like taking your bowl of yogurt and fruit out in the morning and sitting there and eating it. And when the breeze changes and all of a sudden you get that stench, well, back into the house. Yeah, not fun at all. Okay, due to our personal experience dealing with this issue, I am totally against changing the 75-foot rule. Did I leave out the point? Oh, that's it?
Yeah, sorry. We're trying to stick with the 3 minutes.
Okay. I just wanted to emphasize that it was 50 feet originally and it wasn't working.
Thank you.
Next card is Sarah Blaine.
Hello again. I just had a couple questions about, based off the presentation and then what's written in here. I was hoping that maybe the word total between the chickens and the rabbits could be changed. That's one of the things that I've seen. The cost of a livestock permit is, last I checked, was quite expensive, and so that's one of the concerns that I know a lot of people have, and why having them raised is important. And the WUI compliance structures, that's something I'm not familiar with. I don't know exactly how a metal coop would work for chickens in the summer, but that is an interesting. Yes. I don't know if that's the only WUI compliant thing. I think they have some like resin ones, but still the heat. And I know, like you said, you're not going to please everyone here, but I feel like it's not enough, and I hope that there is more discussion about it. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you.
So WUI compliant just means the WUI code that we have on our houses right now. There's several types of siding materials that can be used, and it's just complying with that. Yeah, it can be metal, doesn't have to be metal. It can be cement board, it can be several things. So it's just complying with what the WUI code has, and Tony can help anyone with that question.
Kristen Holman.
I just wanted to say thank you so much for continuing to discuss this and look at all the issues. I would also just ask that maybe we could look into, I understand that we've looked into neighboring counties, but is there any other areas of California that do more than 12? You know, maybe we've only looked at 10 places, but what is the top limit in California and why? You know, why can some go higher? And so that would be a question. Another comment I wanted to make was, you know, I've heard the gentleman said about smell. One just suggestion to anybody listening to do for smell would be to put down wood chips. A nice thick layer of wood chips or leaves or things like that will absorb and also create you compost, which is awesome. So just as a suggestion to people, if they're worried about smell or their neighbor, you could suggest that to them, and that could help with it as well. So thank you.
I have no more cards on this item.
So it's 6. Anybody else want to speak? Okay. So at 6:50, we're closing public comment, and it comes back to council. We have a,
I just have a question for Susan. So
Yes, sir.
how much different is your presentation or your suggestions to us than came out of the Planning Commission? Thank you.
Planning Commission made a recommendation of unlimited hens and 1 rooster. Staff's recommendation, because of other constraints, would be limit the hens to 12, hens or rabbits to 12, no roosters unless under a livestock permit, just as it exists today. Commission recommended reducing the setback from 75 feet to 40 feet from any occupiable structure, but since our conversations with the state fire marshal, we know that that minimum needs to be 50 feet.
Okay.
And then the last one, rabbits. Their recommendation on top of unlimited hens was 12 rabbits for less than an acre and 36 rabbits for 1 acre or larger. And staff's recommendation is still that hard ceiling of 12 between the two, to be able to defend that as pets versus livestock.
Susan, I got a question.
Yes, sir.
So to get a what are the restrictions on a livestock permit? Do you have to have a certain, like my house, when I bought it in 1991, I'm on 1/3 acre, and I know there's a lot of lots that are 1/3 acre. But, so what is the minimum? I mean, you got to have a certain amount of dirt.
In most of the zone, it's 1 acre
So
to
you
have a
gotta- and
livestock
there's-
permit.
There were originally a lot of 1 acre lots in town, but there's still some around, but.
There's still
but
some
like
around.
You had the percentage numbers. but-
Yes.
So that's a minimum. You got to have enough space.
16% of our lots, right, and we have just over 11,000, are 1 acre or larger.
See, that's not very much.
It's not.
That's not very many.
What's the cost for a?
So if you
Permit.
live on a half acre or a 1/3 acre, you can't get a livestock permit, right?
Correct. It's just backyards, chickens, and hens, plus your cats and your dogs and your fish.
What's the cost for that?
$352. It's like a use permit. It's issued one time, and then it runs with the land. We do send those applications to the county health department. So if there's some sort of health advisory, we need to know about the specific animal they're asking for. Public engineering will take a look to see about, are there any water courses that might be impacted by runoff from that? We have septic, make sure that nothing's going over leach lines and septic tanks. So yeah, it's an all-in review for those, but just one time.
any other questions for Susan?
Just a comment, the WUI compliant chicken coop, I have a problem with that because they could put it right up against a fence by the neighbor's house.
No, you
No, they can't?
They're supposed to maintain their minimum side yard setbacks.
Right.
But again, because these activities are not regulated through permit,
Right.
not everybody checks or asks or complies, but they're supposed to maintain their setbacks, which could either be 5 feet or 10 feet. Residential zones vary.
Right. Less than 50 feet, though, from the neighbor's house.
Yes. If the neighbor was, at their minimum
If
setback.
they're in minimum setback, it'd be closer to their house than the 50 feet.
Yes.
Right, and that's what concerns me. I don't have a problem with the WUI compliant thing. I'd rather them have WUI compliant chicken coops anyways, so they'd survive the next fire. But I don't like the idea that if they got a WUI, they could put it so close to the neighbor's house, because you heard from that one resident that 50 feet or 60 feet had a smell issue, that he couldn't use his patio.
Right.
When it moved out further, it was no problem.
But they were running that fence line too,
Right.
which they weren't supposed to be.
So if
They're
you
supposed
were
be on
to-
the setback. The hard part for me, I guess, would be placing your house is now restricting your whole backyard, what you can do with it. You might be okay from your house, the distance you need for this coop or whatever, but because they chose to be right back tight to the backyard, now it's restricting what you can do in your backyard, and it's kind of weird to me.
And if they comply with keeping the smell down, I wouldn't have an issue with it, but we know they're going
Oh, I
to
agree.
have problems with that.
Totally agree, and they should be. That's not responsible neighbor.
It is not.
To do that.
To Susan's point, most of these things, anything under 120 square feet, you don't need any permits.
Right.
So, whether you go to Home Depot or Tractor Supply and buy a chicken coop
Right.
and put it right on your fence line, which is in violation of
Right.
setback codes anyway, you know what I mean? I mean, it's kind of like,
Yeah.
you know, your chicken owners got to be responsible citizens, you know? And a lot of it is they may not know. I mean, like this fellow that spoke about his neighbor, you know, they spent a lot of money on their patio to, you know, I have a whole house fan, you know, that's a big deal.
It
You know,
is.
you turn on the whole house fan in the morning to cool your house down, you're doing that to save money
Right.
on electricity and stuff. And suddenly if you got all this, whew, that could be bad.
I would hope that the people with chickens would have respect for their neighbors and abide by these. And yes, there's going to be ones out there that won't, no
Right.
doubt. But, you know, so those are the ones that we get complaints, we can go out there and do something. I don't think we need to punish, you know, everybody in advance that
Right.
would hopefully do the right thing. So, you know, myself, I kind of agree with what staff is recommending. And so if there's no more discussion, I would make a motion to do what staff is permitted with the 12 chickens and the 50-foot setback, no roosters.
Did you make a motion?
Motion
I'll
by,
second that.
motion by Crowder, seconded by Colleton.
I was listening.
Councilmember Bullen,
Aye.
Councilmember Colleton,
Aye.
Councilmember Lang is absent. Councilmember Lasson,
Because we lived with 75 feet for, 15 years, and now we want to change it to 50 feet, and it's going to cause a problem, I vote no.
and Mayor Crowder.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Susan, thank you for your good work and all the rest of the staff. You guys did a good job. Difficult.
Okay. On to item 6A, appoint council representative and alternatives to represent the town of Paradise on various local and regional boards. Melanie?
Yes, so it is that time of year again to appoint council representatives. So in your packet, you have 2025's appointments and a open sheet for 2026 assignments. So we can go down the list as we normally do to assign whoever wants to serve.
Well, do we want to go down the list, or is everybody good with where they're at? Can we just stay with what we have?
128. Page 128.
I'm good, okay.
129 has the,
Okay. Did you make a,
Well, I'm asking, if there's someone that opposes it, I'd make a motion, we just stay with what we had this last year. I'll make that motion. I don't know if it'll go.
I'm good with where we're at.
I'm good too.
Were we going to discuss adding an economic development committee?
well, but that, I thought on council initiated. Oh, okay, well,
Just ahead of the meeting that we can add that to this agenda item.
okay.
Yeah, it can't, because this has been agendized broadly, if you want to add or remove a committee, if it's the council's pleasure, then you can do that.
I rescind my motion then.
I just wanted to discuss adding an economic development. Oh, thank you. I just wanted to discuss adding an economic development committee. I know we have a downtown development committee, and but that's a little bit narrower scope. So I think economic development needs to take front and center.
We don't have a committee.
We're posing to create an economic development committee, Woody, and I would like to be on it.
Well, who would be on that?
One of the five of us. Is that one?
Two of the five.
I mean, it's got to, I mean, is it staff and,
I would be willing to do that if you
Are there
guys want to do
community
it.
members on
I'd
it?
like to do that.
All right, you can do it, whatever.
This is the discussion.
Okay, because, I mean, if it's a committee that's involved with business owners or community members, as well as staff and council, I would have no problem with that. If it's just staff and council, then that gets a little dicey, because, unless we're doing it from the dais, giving direction to staff to do something, we're not going to be able to do that at a committee level. Am I right or wrong about that?
If I may jump in, it sounds like this is certainly a council decision, but, we talked a little bit about the downtown committee that currently exists, and that is for a very specific project-based committee. This sounds like a more broad committee, similar to maybe the legislative committee, the upcoming insurance committee, those types of committees that we have that council serves on. And some of those have residents and other entities involved, and some do not. Some, they are just council and staff. And then when there are meetings or other events that need to be addressed by that committee, those are the council members and staff that address those issues. So again, that is up to council on how it's formed.
I would be open to having community members and staff. I don't have a particular makeup of the committee in mind. I just would like to get moving on some economic development.
And I wouldn't be opposed to that either, but I think you want to keep it somewhat small and manageable, not have it a, 20-person committee.
47 people?
Yes,
I think there should be 47.
yeah.
At a minimum.
So if I may interject, I do agree with what's being said as far as the need for this right now. And I would envision you would obviously have staff, you'd have 2 council representatives, you can have community members if you want. I think the whole intent is to reach out to those experts in this region and bring their expertise back to help us navigate a course to bring business back into this community.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so maybe some industry input.
Marion Park and stuff, right? Yeah, no, that makes sense. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll withdraw whatever my concern is.
And would this be a standing or an ad hoc committee? Standing committees would be publicly noticed.
I think probably an ad hoc, unless somebody,
I mean, that way you have the freedom.
Yeah.
The question is, the salient question with all of this is, how long is this committee going to last? If it's going to be ongoing for more than a year, then it's a standing committee, and and you have to follow the Brown Act rules. If it's for a limited scope or for a limited time, then you can have it as an ad hoc committee.
is that limited time 1 year? Or is it just
One-
a
one year-
limited time?
1 year or less.
Because these
Could-
are all
See,
Board of Review.
I
Could
hate-
it be,
Well,
A lot of these are ad hoc committees.
could it be extended or renewed or?
It can. The argument with extending and renewing them is, well, then it would then convert to a standing committee. Really, the purpose for many of them, if you have a limited scope as to, and let me give an example. You could take like the sewer committee. That's a limited scope. And you could, in theory, have that as an ad hoc committee because you've got such a limited scope. Now, you may want to opt to have it as a standing committee so the public can come. But if you've got something as broad as economic development, it really doesn't have a limited scope per se. And so I would say, if you want to try it for a year as an ad hoc committee, see how beneficial it is. And then if you want to renew it next year, then we can consider converting it at that point to a standing committee.
Because what is the cost of a standing committee? You're subject to the Brown Act, you've got to publicly notice it, and that means we got to put an ad in the paper? Is it?
No,
We don't
no,
have to do any of that?
you just have to have an agenda and post it on the website.
Okay, all right.
And post it in some of the locations. I don't want to trivialize it. I mean, it does take a little bit of staff time, but it's
No,
not,
but it-
but it's not like putting an ad in the paper and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's not. It's manageable.
Because the ad in the paper is, what a waste of money.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to interject again. I don't think there's anything wrong with having a standing committee. I mean, we're going to have public involved in this process anyway. It really is not a big deal, and we want the public, quite frankly, involved in these processes. I don't think it's a bad thing. I understand if you want to try it for a year, but it's not a bad thing if you want to go in that direction.
I would agree. I mean, I get the idea of keeping it more flexible, but I would like to think that we'll solve our economic development problems within a year, but that's just not reality. And so let's just be real. It's going to be an ongoing committee.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be ongoing. Okay, so what are we doing? We're adding it? We're creating one? Is that?
Yeah.
Okay, so did you make a motion or something, or we just gotta do it?
Do I need to make a motion about that specifically, or does that just become part of the greater motion of committee assignments?
Yeah, what I would say is if you're going to have a motion related to all the committee assignments, then just have consensus to add that in, and then whatever motion would include that as well as what's on the paper.
Okay.
And then the representatives for that were Councilmember Lang and Bolin.
That's up to the mayor, whatever he wants.
Well, I would like to do it too, but it's, well, and I've given up my, any of the other committees that I just, yeah, well. Okay,
So
Greg,
what's it?
you want to flip a coin?
You can have it. You can, if you want it, you can have it. I'm not gonna fight for
Who
it.
wants it? Raise your hand.
Well, obviously.
Greg and Steve.
Yeah.
Between Greg and Steve? Okay, pick a number between one.
If you want it, Steve, you're the mayor, whatever.
Well, you're both business owners, so.
So,
And how many committees are you on, Greg? How many are you on, Steve? It's whoever's gonna be able to give the most time and energy to it. That's my. No, I better shut up.
Yeah. So total 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, I was here on 12, and half of them don't meet, so I don't know what, half of 12 is 6 and half of 9 is still like 4.5.
Okay, Greg, you're on.
well, what about,
I'll get out in the middle of it. It's up to you two.
Okay, Greg, you're on it. You have less committees.
It's your call, whatever. I'm good for it, thanks, but
No, it's not.
I would like to have Steve serve on this committee with me.
Huh?
Let's just settle it. I would like to have Steve serve on this committee with me.
and
Well, how does that make you feel, Greg?
Greg and I serve on a couple of committees together.
I'm kidding, I'm just kidding.
okay.
Okay, Steve, you're it. So now, we're gonna leave everything the same. I'll make a motion.
I did have one other question about the Butte County Fire Safe Council representation. Woody, are you interested in maintaining that as the primary? Because I understand,
I don't think I've ever been to it.
I was going to say that, but thank you.
I never get any information from them. I've never been notified of their meetings or anything.
Oh, I don't know what, I can't speak to that, but
Well,
if
I'm
you're
just
not,
telling you, that's why I've never been to it.
I'm the alternate and I'm happy to attend unless you're,
Go, I don't care.
okay. Because there hasn't been any representation from the town since,
Well, again, I'm telling you is that I have not gotten any invitations or calendar schedules
Okay.
from Fire Safe Council for
Okay.
meetings. So
do you check your
maybe
email?
they didn't know I was on the committee.
They do, they
Well,
do.
they're not communicating with me.
Okay.
You want to make her the primary and you the alternate?
Pardon me?
Would you?
Yeah, that's fine.
It would be more functional.
In my defense.
I'm just.
You know where they're
we got-
located,
we
though.
got, hey, we're having a meeting tomorrow at 2 o'clock.
So with the changes that we've just made to Greg's motion, leave everything else the same? Are we all,
Other than those two changes, one addition and one change. So Melanie, did you capture that? You want to read back what we're saying?
Yes. Councilmember Bolin took back his motion. So we would need a new one.
So I would like to make a motion to approve the standing committee representatives as They have been, with the exception of switching Woody and I from primary to alternate for the Fire Safe Council, and adding the Economic Development Committee with myself and Steve as the representatives.
Second.
Motion by Lang, seconded by Colleton. Councilmember Bolin?
Aye.
Councilmember Colleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Lang?
Aye.
Councilmember Lasson?
Aye.
And Mayor Crowder.
Aye.
Motion passes.
6B, consider concurring with the recommendation of Measure V Citizen Oversight Committee interview panel to appoint Bruce Yearman to the Oversight Committee effective immediately. Melanie?
Yes, so on October 14th, at the town council meeting, the town council approved a notice of vacancy and application, and authorized staff to advertise for the existing vacancy on the Measure V committee. After advertising for the position, the town received 3 applications. Interviews were conducted on November 19th, at which time the interview committee unanimously recommended the appointment of Bruce Yearman to serve on the committee effective immediately.
I move approval. Second.
Motion by Bolin, seconded by Colleton. Councilmember Bolin?
Aye.
Councilmember Colleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Lang?
Aye.
Councilmember Lasson?
Aye.
And Mayor Crowder.
Aye, and I think Bruce will be a great addition. So 6C, review the proposed updates to the Measure V Citizen Oversight Committee bylaws and adopt Resolution 2025-79, a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Paradise rescinding Resolution 2112 and adopting amended bylaws for the governance of the Measure V Citizens Oversight Committee. Melanie?
Yes, so last January at the regular quarterly Measure V Oversight Committee meeting was canceled due to a lack of a quorum. In response, the then chair, Sharon Simonton, requested that staff make a recommendation to council to appoint alternate members. Upon a review of the bylaws, however, substitutes are not allowed. They are currently prohibited under Section 4 of members and officers. So after reviewing the bylaws again with the committee on July 22nd at their quarterly meeting, the committee asked staff to draft language for two changes. The first would be to outline how a member may be removed from the committee by the majority of town council due to excessive absences, which they defined as missing 2 or more meetings in a fiscal year. And the second change would be to designate the town clerk to serve as the secretary of the committee. Currently, it says a board member will serve as the secretary. However, the town clerk has always served on Measure V and Measure C as the secretary, posting the agendas, resolutions, holding the minutes. So that would move that into concurrence with how we already procedurally operate.
So that would make you a member of the,
I wouldn't be a member, but
you're
I would just
secretary.
serve as the secretary. Kind of like how I serve as the secretary to the successor agency, even though I'm not on it.
So the recommendation is to, if you miss, this is like a 10-year commitment or 8-year commitment or whatever it is. So if they miss 2 meetings in a calendar year or fiscal year?
In a fiscal year,
then
yes.
they're removed?
Then we as staff would bring it to council and let you know that they have missed half the meetings in a year. And you can make that decision that they remain on the committee or to remove them from the committee and recommend approving a notice of vacancy.
Okay, because I mean, things happen to people, you know.
They do.
People get sick,
Yes.
somebody dies. I just wonder if if you miss 2 consecutive meetings, you know, would be, you know what I mean? It's like 2 meetings out of 4 is, you know, like if it was, I mean, that kind of shows a neglect if you miss twice in a row. I don't know. It still's going to get brought to us no matter what.
Yes, and you can always make the decision to not remove them from the committee. It originated from, due to a lack of a quorum of people not showing up, that it had to be canceled.
What is the quorum for that?
5 of 9.
Do I hear a motion on this?
I'll make a motion that we adopt the staff's recommend, or the committee's recommended changes to the bylaws.
I'll second it. And this is an important committee. I mean, this is a committee that was set up to oversight of this Measure V money. I mean, we did that just so that the citizens felt like there was someone watching how we were spending this money. So, yeah, it's very difficult if they're not meeting for us to say we're having oversight on this. So I hope people step up and
Well,
do
that's
that.
been the experiences. We've had, in the last year or so, we've had 2 vacancies, and it's been really, like the first one, only 1 person applied. And in the last one, 3 people applied. And it's quite a thing. But it really is. I mean, it's a promise we made to the taxpayers when we passed the measure, that this was and this committee is to make sure that when we pass the budget, any of the tax money from this fund is being spent the way we told them we were going to spend
And
it.
if it's boring, it's because we're doing what we said we're going to do. That's why it's boring. So
Yeah.
that's, we need to watch.
So we do have a motion on the table, motion by Colleton, seconded by Bolin. Councilmember Bolin?
Aye.
Councilmember Colleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Lang?
Aye.
Councilmember Lasson?
Aye.
And Mayor Crowder?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, so we're going to move on to 6D. However, Councilmember Lang would like to have a discussion about removing this from the agenda for right now. So Heidi.
After having spoken to a number of the stakeholders involved in the workforce development project about this agenda item, I would like to request that it be tabled until such time as the town has had an opportunity to meet with them in person to discuss the path moving forward and to resolve some issues.
We do not need a vote. We need a consensus by council for this.
If I may address that quickly. So we have been meeting with all of these partners regularly. And I will say, certainly tabling this item is at the council's direction. However, we are set to notify HCD of council's decision on this project on Thursday of this week. So tabling this really would really end up making a decision on this project and its future. Because we really don't have time beyond this week to make this decision. So it really is a very kind of high-level decision about priorities, which is why we're bringing this to council. We have been working very closely with our partners for years, and more specifically months, with some of the changing dynamics with our partners and with this funding source and trying to fit within those guidelines. And so really getting right to the point of what this item is about is the priority of council and whether this project is a priority, and meaning that we would need to cash flow this project in the same way that we cash flow other projects that are funded through HCD at an amount of about $1.5 to $2 million over the course of this time. So that's what that would look like. Otherwise, if we are unable to do that, if we are prioritizing keeping those funds invested, then this project cannot move forward. So that's really the priority decision that we need from council. And I would ask if we could discuss that tonight. And then further details certainly could be tabled for the future. But if we are unable to make that decision tonight, then there really is no future for this project.
So,
I think the consensus of my conversations with all these stakeholders was absolutely that it's still a priority to move forward, that it would not be something that anyone is interested in abandoning. But there was some concerns about the representation of where we were at and some of the issues with the other stakeholders that I thought would be more appropriate to handle in a private meeting.
But that's not what's being asked, and what it's about is if we're gonna take money out of our investment fund and spend it, you know? And that's really the only thing they're asking for now. Whether this thing flies and all the partners, you know, because those people get front-loaded, we don't. So we're gonna lose money, so it's about that.
That's
the deci-
actually not accurate.
That is accurate.
Those people get front-loaded? No, that is not accurate.
Okay, well, then maybe
This-
I was given wrong information.
And
But for
that
us,
is
our
actually-
decision, Heidi, our decision is, are we going to take money out of our investment fund, which is going to sustain our services for this community for the next 20 years or so, and we're going to lose that revenue we earn on that to go do this to serve, if it got built and done, 500 kids or something. I'm just not into
Did
losing
you
money.
read this?
If I could add to that, Woody, I believe what I was told is we
Let's
would
air it all
lose
out
the
then.
interest on the money.
Let's just go for it.
We would lose the interest on it, not all the money. We'd get the money back from the grants.
You lose,
The interest.
you lose your interest,
Yes.
And how much is that?
Hi, Heidi.
I can tell you what that amount would be. Projected, if we did do this project and took out those funds and did not have it invested for 2 years, it would be between $120,000 and $160,000 total that we would lose on investment income.
By taking $1 million some out of the fund?
Correct.
And that's all you have to take out of the fund?
At a time, yes, because it would be each month, there would be expenses that we would ask for reimbursement, we would be reimbursed, and then we would reimburse all of the partners.
So I have a question is, my understanding is this was going to be a partnership with everybody, correct?
Correct?
So what happened to our partners' contribution to this? Why are we looking to fund the whole thing?
So the funding source is coming from HCD. So we are not funding anything from our own funding sources, from our own general fund or anything like that. This is a CDBG DR funded project. So our partners are providing the services. They're providing the classes, the instructors. They are doing the workforce training. And we are really administrating this. We are bringing all of the partners together. We are doing the paperwork. We are meeting with HCD. We are ensuring that all of that paperwork and monitoring is done correctly. That is the portion that really was a barrier to all of the other workforce partners in the area over the course of the last 5 years that we have been trying to get this project going, is that those entities really were not able to meet the requirements of HCD. They are high. And so it is difficult. What has become an issue is the cash flow or confronting the money to be able to do these projects. The entities that we're working with have expressed to us that they are not able to do that on a reimbursement basis to the level that they had agreed to with us. And so if they were set to move forward, we would need to pay those up front, and then once we were, then be reimbursed ourselves, so that they would be able to receive payment.
No, yeah. So,
That was not the discussion that I had in the last couple of days with Paradise Unified and with Butte College.
So I should also say that within the last 24 hours, we did receive new information from the school district that they are now interested back again. There had been a time where they were reviewing some of their own policies and how they would deal with certain issues that arose with this project, that it seemed that they perhaps were not going to be working with us, but it sounds like they are, which is wonderful. But that really does not change the rest of the partners and what they are able to do. And Butte College was very clear with us that they also had this issue with reimbursement. So this is news to me.
They were very hesitant, but they did not say that it was a hard no at all. So they were very hesitant, but I think that was attributed to some of the, how the communications have gone over the last 6 or 8 months and how it's kind of unraveled to a point. And so they were uncomfortable with the certainty of the project.
So let me suggest that you've asked for this to be tabled, and
I hadn't realized we came down to the 11th hour.
It takes consensus to do that, and I see it, there are people here to comment on it. We can always open this item up and have the discussion and hear from the school district and others that are here.
Right, Butte College wasn't able to attend.
Then when we get to the action part, we can postpone it to a later meeting, am I correct? Or, we can.
Well, it sounds like we need it by Thursday.
yes.
Well, but that's
So
about the funding
we
thing, whether or
can
not
have-
we're going to
I'm sorry.
commit that money. That's just one part of this thing.
Go
Right.
ahead, go ahead.
We can have this discussion at a later date. The timeline for this project is such that if we go beyond this week, which is what HCD has expected of us, the future of the project is very uncertain to me, based on what HCD is expecting from us.
It's unfortunate that we didn't communicate that to the stakeholders and get their current status on all of this before it was brought to us within 2 days of that deadline.
Well, I
This
got the
has been
agenda, I asked about
communicated.
this. I got the
has-
agenda last
Hang
Wednesday.
on, let's one at a time.
I'm so sorry. So this has been communicated. We have met with the partners many, many times over the past 6 months. And all of the partners, besides the school district, because they were doing their own separate review, but the other partners were very strong in their decision that they were not able to participate if they had to cash flow these funds themselves. That was their answer. We tried working around this many different ways, which is why we came to this point, and we realized this really needs to be a council decision. This is not a staff decision on how we move forward.
So Mayor, can I provide some context too, if I may?
Yes.
So, thank you. So I understand these details are a little sticky, and that's all well and good, and there are valid points being made, but I do want to provide the overview of this grant, and that is that we're going to provide millions of dollars in training, vocational training, to the kids of this community. We cannot lose sight of that fact. And you have to remember, these kids we're talking about were impacted by the Camp Fire and COVID. Both those things are hugely traumatic incidents. We need to do all we can to help them find a path forward for vacations and careers. That's my perspective on this.
I think that the, items agendized, and I wasn't familiar with, I got the agenda last Wednesday, and I came and talked to you about it. And I appreciate you getting to what the number, because that was my question. How much revenue will we lose spending this money taken out? So, and it's not a very big number, so that's encouraging. But it's agendized, we should have the discussion. I don't know, because maybe we're going to hear some things from the school district, or because of the fact that you've had some private meetings, and they've had meetings within the last 24 hours, and there's some conflict between what you've heard and what they're hearing. And so why not just have the discussion, and we can either make a decision that she can use on Thursday, or we can table it to next month's meeting, or a special meeting between now and then.
That's fine. Butte College was not able to attend and to speak on it, and there is a pending item of discussion with PUSD's legal that happens to be tomorrow. And so that seemed like the logical thing, but I was missing the large piece that we had waited until 2 days before we had to have a decision to discuss it.
Well, we did that last one.
So,
We're here, we couldn't have made a decision then.
And to be clear, this meeting with HCD was set on Thursday, knowing that we were having this meeting with you all tonight. So that's why they set that meeting. But it's, so that date is not what we're working to. They are working to your decision. So understanding that council was reviewing this tonight, they are expecting an update with that decision.
so I know we got a card from the Bill from the school district, and I'd kind of like to hear from him now if anybody is good with that.
It's on the agenda.
I can say that the school district is looking forward to this project and has been for quite some time. I can tell you that as a board member, and the president of our board hasn't heard anything from anybody in about 2 months. I don't know who you talked to at the district. I wasn't in that meeting. As far as funds from the district is concerned, we will upfront that money. We're not going to wait. We're going to put that money up right now for that project. Excuse me. And then regarding the legal thing, that's not an issue. That's taken care of. That's not a problem. So, and I'm open to any questions you might have for me. I think the district's looking forward to this. I'm shocked that it's going to get pulled, to be honest with you. As your town manager said, our kids in this community need this project. They need it desperately. people going to college these days from high school isn't as common as it used to be. You're looking at more trades that need to be done. You got a gentleman who's been in the trades forever. Well, he's as old as I am, so I can say that.
Careful.
I think I'm older than he is. But the trades are very important to this town. They're also very important to our students. We're doing the best we can to build those through CTE. We've got some kids that are going from the welding program that are getting jobs as welders. We have some people that got some construction jobs, but we need more help. We don't have the funds to do this by ourselves. But the district, I can guarantee you, will front load you that money. Questions for?
Well, that's what I wanted to hear from you. So are we, the only missing piece right now is Butte College, is that correct?
No, and so the majority of the budget is actually with the other partners that are unable to front that money. So I'm very happy to hear this information from the school district. That's fantastic. We have been working with administrative staff with the school district this whole time for years at this point. And so that's where this information exchange has come from. And so very happy to hear this news. This was just shared with us literally 24 hours ago. So until then, it was very unclear to us if the school district was going to continue with this project, but we're very happy that they are.
So we're missing, so what other partners are we missing?
So Butte College is a partner, Valley Contractors Foundation is another partner, as well as AFWD. Those are our three other partners in addition. Alliance for Workforce Development.
So is the facilities at the school, do they exist now, or is it going to be more construction?
We have a wrestling building to build. We have a culinary class that we're trying to get a grant for half the cost of that. It's going to be $1.5 million. It's going to need a lot of infrastructure in it. If we get the grant, we'll get $750,000 of that. We have an ag building we want to build on the property we bought next to us where the church was. We have a...
But for this workforce, is there facilities for that? I thought there was some that needed to be
Yes.
retrofitted.
Yes,
Yes,
there are
are.
two
So
buildings.
we have a gym that needs to be retrofitted. We have the new gym, but we have the old gym and the locker rooms that need to be retrofitted. We also have the cafeteria, which we already have the plans done for, that you guys have already approved, that need to be retrofitted as well, which we don't have the funds to do. We have a wing that has not been done yet. Let's see, other campuses.
I think my point, Bill, was like, I didn't know, a lot of times you have to go through the state architect. There's a whole bunch of hoops to jump through in a school district in order to do anything.
The cafeteria has already gone through the state architect and it's been approved. So yeah, and it's got to be in the millions of dollars to remodel that cafeteria.
Cool. All right. I didn't know if we spend the money, how long it delayed.
It's
to
already
get
been
things done.
approved 2 years ago. We only have 4 years to make that work, so we're only have about 2 years left on it.
Cool.
I will mention specifically for this workforce project, there are two buildings on the high school campus that are currently being used as the CTE buildings, and those would be refreshed. So we're working with the constraints that the school district has on what kind of construction we can do there. Originally, we had scoped more of a rehabilitation of those buildings, but because of the review that's necessary and the time frame we're working with, we are likely going to do more of a refresh to those buildings and not as much physical.
To stay with below the threshold for DSA.
Exactly. But those buildings do exist on the campus. They are functioning now. But this would improve those buildings and then be used for this project.
I'm curious about when you talk about like an ag program. I mean, when I think of, when I went to high school, we had shop classes, you know, in auto shop and wood shop and all. And that's what I'm hoping we're trying to do. Is like when we had the ROP program, that one house they built, on Central Park. I mean, hopefully those things will come back. We need electricians and plumbers and carpenters.
Absolutely. The programs that are supported by this particular project are outlined in the agenda, specifically construction-based ones and
Butte College has some of that,
CNA.
like the heavy equipment and different things, and
Right.
plumbing and stuff, And can there be a charter trade school?
So So that's a different subject. We have a CTE class, which is the welding class. It does a little bit of construction. We built a tiny home that was part of the community last year in that class. Let's see what else. They do a little bit of automotive and they do agriculture as well. So they do the ag portion. So that's one class that does all those things. If we can get a better facility, not a better facility, if we can upgrade the facility, we might be able to separate those out or provide more is what we'd really like to do.
I would like to just make two small requests. That clearly there is a disconnect in communication with people authorized to give status or position for at least one of the stakeholders for certain we've established here. So maybe we clarify who we're communicating with, because the people that I communicated with were not in the same loop. And
Does sound that
had
way.
always been willing to front money and all the things. And so maybe we triple check who we're communicating with. And then in addition to that, as the one of the liaison members for the school district, I would like to be kept in the loop of the communications with that, please.
Absolutely.
So did,
Is there more cards?
Any other questions? Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
And Brian is here, who is working really close with me, has taken the day-to-day on this. And so I'd love for him to address some of those issues about communication and the meetings that we've had and kind of how that has gone.
Yeah, absolutely. Evening, Council. Just to clarify, so we this summer kind of reconstituted meeting regularly with all of our partners. We started working on a new schedule for classes, if we're going to start in January or if we're going to start in the summer. In September and October, our partners all chimed in with when classes would be offered, and they also talked about what kind of facilities would be required, what would be needed in terms of stuff on the ridge versus things that had to happen elsewhere. In September, the school district requested to be removed from communication from the project while they underwent legal review. That was on September 22nd. I just looked at the email. And so since then, I've been communicating on the side with the school district, asking for updates, but they were just letting us know it's in legal review. As soon as that is complete, we will let you know. And that was complete yesterday. They reached out to us. They communicated they are all in. They're excited about the project. And at that time, they said they do not need the cash flow frontage. And so they were not part of this discussion of the last few months with our other partners and talking about who needs cash flow and whatnot. This has been the continual problem for the last year on this project. And I know Colette, when she was the primary person on it, was trying all sorts of things, looking at getting nonprofit loans, all sorts of stuff for the partners so that they could cash flow the project. But we got to a point, and the Butte College partners at our October meeting let us know that with the new finance team that they had there, they did not see the cash flow being able to front that as an option any further. They didn't confirm it. I will say that, but they let us know that this was a major concern for their finance team.
Who is it that you connect with at Butte College?
Linda Zorn.
That's interesting, because that was not her recollection of even that October meeting in my conversation with her yesterday.
Okay. So that's just a little update on the status.
So,
And I will say, you know, the Butte College conversation, that was additional new information. The biggest issue we were facing was with Nortec and AFWD, where they were saying that they looked at every possible option to be the primary people running the background recruitment, processing, all the stuff that's required by HCD. And they got to a point where they said, we do not see a path forward. And so this is all, you know, since our September meeting, and that's what got us to today. And so HCD was asking for when will we have an idea of what we're doing, and that is at that point we let them know we're going to bring it to council at this meeting. And so then they set up, well, let's have a meeting after that to discuss what council decides.
Yes.
Okay, Bill, thank you.
So I wasn't aware of the district pulling whatever, but I can tell you our superintendent was injured in June. Our new superintendent wasn't put into place until, I want to say September. I don't remember exactly off the top of my head, but if there's any miscommunication, I'm sorry for that. But I can guarantee you that as a district, we're behind this 100%.
Thank you.
I
We need
do,
to get past the communication part and discuss whether the project is good or not. I mean, whatever communication there was, is it a
Yes,
good project or not? So,
I think what I would just say in closing for myself is really, again, this comes down to if council wants to direct staff to cash flow this project, and we've talked about what that means, to make this project move forward, and then we will work on those details about exactly how that may work. And it sounds like this may not be all of the partners, which is great news. If we, if Butte College can take some of that, that off of the table, that would be fantastic. But there is certainly an aspect of this in which we will have to cash flow more than just our own expenses. And so that's what we're asking council for direction on, because if the answer to that is no, then we really cannot move forward with this project.
So when I met with you the other day, when I read the agenda, that was my biggest concern. We have money, making money for us so that we can maintain services for 20 years while we rebuild the town. And so you answered that question. Now, this is like a $17 million grant?
It's 17.8 million as
Yeah.
it's scoped
So we're not going to have to
today.
take $17 million out of pro
No,
fund.
absolutely not. And I will
About-
also say that budget will likely be scoped down based on some of the changes that we're going to be making with the construction aspect of it and shifting that to be able to serve more students potentially, which is great news. But, looking at how this, the expenses would be coming in, it likely would be 1.5 to 2 million a month that
A
would be able to
month?
come out, and then we'd be reimbursed, and then we
A
would
month?
have. Yes, but it would cycle, so
It
it
would be
wouldn't
like
be.
draws.
It wouldn't be cumulative.
Huh?
Like draws.
Yes, we would draw.
Okay, so
we would
take it out
and then
of
be
the pro fund, so we
reimbursed.
lose the income for a month. And then how long after we do the work and we submit do we get reimbursed?
Yeah, so maybe a month. Amy can talk a little bit more about the timing on
I
that.
mean, because
but
the number you
idea-
gave me, if
Right.
we're talking about the loss of $150,000,
Right.
in the scheme of things, that's not a lot. I mean,
The
that's-
idea would
that's-
be-
I thought it was a whole lot more money than that.
Right, the idea would be the
And if we
work
get
would
the
be
money
done.
back to where, it's still a loss, but the benefits of the project are the bigger picture. And that, and I'm in favor of that. And I understand your dilemma, whether there's been miscommunication or whatever, and it doesn't sound like, sounds like a school district, all in and everything is to go. So my opinion that I shared with you the other day has changed as a result of this.
So I don't want us to get lost in the weeds on this. I think we have to look at this from my perspective as a return on investment. We're investing $100 and something thousand in 500 kids that need it. And we're talking about 15 million or more dollars. That's a pretty good return on your investment from my perspective. And I think this community and these kids in our community really need that right now. Despite all the other things that we're talking about, which, we can take a look at and flesh it. In the end, it really doesn't matter. We'll make this work, and we'll make it work for these kids in this community.
And I will add one thing to that this is really a significant investment if we are able to move forward with this project on economic development in this community. Economic development is a multifaceted endeavor, and this is one aspect of that we have, we have this money allocated to us now. And so being able to make a project work with that funding would be tremendous for our community when it comes to an investment.
And I know Amy came up to say something, I think.
How long does it take to get us reimbursed from HCD for the money we front load?
Well, you figure you have at least 30 days in order to have that check out and then get pushed back through. And then you have at least another 45 to 60 days before it gets refunded if all the paperwork is in line and they approve it. So you're looking at least 3 months. And so that's continuously rolling,
At best case.
best case scenario, at least.
Now, I asked Mike a question about that as far as, this is a question probably for you or Colette. The question I asked Mike was, okay, we're administering all this. Can we charge an administrative charge against the grant for the fact that we're using this money of ours and we're losing that 100 and whatever? Are we allowed to do that?
No, we cannot. We cannot charge it for the money that we lose in the investment. What we can charge it for, and this is the administrative funds, is for staff time that we're working on that. And also, I would mention, this is in the staff report, this is such a complex project, and this is a lot that would have to be put on our finance department. And so we would recommend hiring a firm to come in that would be paid for by the grant, a consultant that would come in to do all of that back-end paperwork to ensure that our partners are turning in everything that they need, processing all of that and getting that to HCD in a package to make sure that we are not doing that and to make sure that those reimbursements are done efficiently.
I think that would make some of the stakeholders that I spoke to more confident in front-loading whatever it comes to too, because I think they were just feeling that uncertainty about this piece of the process and translating that to the reimbursement process as well.
It's very complex, so it's valid.
So that would work, where? Would that be a problem? I mean, if we hired a firm to just manage all of that stuff, so the paperwork got in, so Amy's department doesn't have to do it? Right?
There would certainly be interface with the finance department.
Well, I mean, it would, yeah,
but yes, it would take.
And the grant could pay for all that?
Yes, the grant would pay for all
So
of it.
that's where we'd recoup recoup some
CDBG-DR
of our
has no
investment.
match. It pays for all of this, and there is budget there for this specifically.
Is there other cards?
I do have one other card from Melissa Crick.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. I'm speaking on behalf of Valley Contractors Workforce Foundation under this project. Our pause, much like the school district, had to do with overlapping services, multiple agencies, similar people providing services. So of course we needed to go through the appropriate legal process. I want to bring into focus the idea of making sure that when we have these delicate discussions, that we're keeping in mind the basis of our relationships with community organizations. It's very important that we're able to provide an accurate picture to the public of how these processes work. Brian coming onto the project has been a breath of fresh air. We've had many meetings. Certainly there has been a pause on this side. There's been many years of pause on the other side. But we must always keep in mind the spirit of community and growing relationships. The district is grateful for the liaison committee and the work done to reestablish relationships. So focusing on that. And then additionally, as our town manager said, this is economic development. This is an opportunity to serve kids. I'm not sure where 500 came from. Valley Contractors Workforce Foundation intends to serve many hundreds of students from every variety of educational partners, community partners, working with our criminally involved students, working with community members. This also serves community at large, weekends, evenings, holidays, summer. It is open to more than just charters and public school. So the magnitude of this project is quite significant. This is in fact an investment in the economic development future of our community. So I would encourage maybe a recap meeting. Let's reconnect, reestablish, and figure out how to move forward. I appreciate the timely need for a decision this evening, but let's make sure that we're maintaining what is the best path forward and how can we accurately portray to the public what has gone on so far and how we'll move ahead. So thank you for your consideration.
Is that it?
Yes.
I'll make a motion, we move forward with this.
Second.
Motion by Bullen, seconded by Colleton. Councilmember Bullen?
Aye.
Councilmember Colleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Lang?
Aye.
Councilmember Lasson?
Aye.
And Mayor Carter?
I, with a caveat that I'd really like to just get some, information. I don't know if we're missing something from what I'm hearing tonight, but if we've got to front load the whole thing till whatever, let's figure that out. But if we don't, and there's another path, I'd sure like to know what that is, because again, I think this is a great project, but it's kind of like we're getting us done with a gun to our head because of timing. But I would like to really get to where we're getting with our partners, so.
I appreciate that. Timing is always a concern with these projects, always. It can be frustrating. So I appreciate that, and certainly we will come back with a lot more information for you with this. We'll, reconvene and come back to you.
Thank you. So 6E, approve reclassification of Public Works Director, Town Engineer, Assistant Town Manager, Public Works Director, Mark Maddox. So Mike O'Brien.
Thank you, Mayor and Vice Mayor and Council. Always my privilege to address you as your interim town manager. So as you know, I spent several months reviewing and evaluating our organization and organizational structure within my role as interim town manager. Of course, it's a work in progress. It goes without saying. In that evaluation, I have determined a number of best practices for our organization moving forward. And as I mentioned at our last meeting, I want to make sure that you know, and I think you do, that we have an exceptional staff serving our community. I've been involved in county and municipal government for almost 40 years, including working at the most populous county in our country. And I say with confidence, we have a staff that punches far above their weight and size, to use a boxing analogy. So one of those exceptional staff members is Mark Maddox. Mark has done an incredible job managing projects and people in a proportionate scale that is not typically found in a community our size. His professionalism, ethics, and competence are beyond reproach, and I mean that. So in addition, I have heard from others and witnessed firsthand Mark's love for this town. That actually is very important to me. This organization and town will greatly benefit from Mark's promotion to Assistant Town Manager, and as such, I'm extremely proud to recommend Mark as our new Assistant Town Manager. Mark has my full confidence and my recommendation to you. And the report.
That's it?
That is it, sir.
That's a kind of report, I think.
So comments, questions?
I concur with your evaluation of Mark. I've known Mark since he came to work at the town. I was on the council before. He came to this town from, I believe, Yuba City. He took a cut and pay to come to work here. His love for the town, and just his expertise as an engineer. And we're doing something, this entire staff, we're doing something that other towns are having to learn from us. We're having to rebuild a whole town that was wiped out. A monumental task. There's no playbook. We're writing the playbook. Mark's done a good job doing that. And what I can say historically, because I served on this council for a lot of years before, when Mark, it wasn't a promise, but it was the conversations we had with Mark. In his professional career, he would like to maybe someday become a town manager. And I know he had the title of assistant town manager before, as we've gone through a bunch of changes in this rebuilding. And so I think it's appropriate that we give him that title back. You know, I have complete confidence in Mark Maddox and the job he does. So I think this will be under your, and whoever replaces you as a permanent town manager, be a good training ground for him. He's an exceptional town engineer, and you know, his staff appreciates him. I have never heard any staff member who works in Public Works complain about working for Mark. So I'll make a motion that we approve this item as presented.
I'll second.
Motion by Colleton, seconded by Bowen. Councilmember Bowen?
Aye.
Councilmember Colleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Lang?
Aye.
Councilmember Lasson?
Wholeheartedly vote aye.
And Mayor Crowder?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I just want to say it's such an honor to continue to serve this council and this community. I do love this town. I love the opportunity to serve in this new role again, and so looking forward to it. And again, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mark.
You
So,
mentioned the condition on this appointment was that your PowerPoints would be limited to 6 slides? Okay.
so 6F, consider adopting the updated special condition for maintenance of temporary surfacing and striping for use in all applicable encroachment permits. Mark?
I'm not sure if this is less than 6 slides.
Uh-oh.
I'll do my best.
You're fired.
Over the last few years, we've come up against, you know, 2 competing priorities. One, delivering services, getting projects done, paving our roads. We just finished almost 30 miles this last calendar year as we wind down, but always trying to get more done in less time. A lot of that impact comes with what we can get done in the interim stages of construction, especially for these utility projects. The Town of Paradise operates through an encroachment permit provision process through our municipal code, where we do look at what contractors, what utility companies, or what our own teams are looking at doing, and we place requirements and special conditions on them for the implementation of their work. One of the items for us is in that encroachment permit is making sure you're working in a safe manner, you carry all licenses, insurance, and again, that you comply with the standards that we set forth. In our recent winter seasons, we've seen safety concerns for the traveling public as it relates to the quality of temporary surfacing, whether that's roadway patching with cold mix or even sometimes hot mix. We've seen divots and blowouts with storms, and things can change on any given day. But really what we're bringing forward tonight is a new set of special conditions that has really been born out of experience and then out of the expertise of our team of how to make this better for you, the council, and the community. So with that, we've developed special conditions that we'd look to condition on all future encroachment permits, especially work that's occurring during the winter months, but it'll apply all the time during summer months. So I'm really going to just quickly walk through what these special conditions will be, and you'll kind of see where we're trying to change some of the ownership back onto the contractors performing this work with daily certifications, weekly reporting, response time minimum requirements. And so with that, I'll get started here. For temporary trench surfacing, not a lot of this is new here. You'll see the items in kind of bullet point summaries. The items that are new are designated as such. So we already have standard construction practices that are required. We do allow steel plates in some instances, but not all of them, especially as we prepare for the winter months. We require those plates to be off the road because they can conflict with our snowplow operations. We have minimum thickness requirements, but one thing we do have is a smoothness tolerance. We're moving to a 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch tolerance based on the proximity to the traveling public and wheel loads for traveling vehicles. So that's new. When we go through the daily and storm readiness inspections, we have 3 new requirements: that the contractor itself, their foreman, the encroachment permit applicant, whoever's name is on those forms, they need to help have someone who's available to provide end-of-shift inspections and certifications. They need to have non-working day storm checks when there's forecasted precipitation. And then we also have corrective maintenance triggers within 1 hour. So all of those are new to make sure that if an issue is identified through the public or through our own staff, that they need to have a 1-hour response time to have that issue addressed. Moving on to traffic control and housekeeping, these items aren't new. We have traffic control plan compliance always in all of our encroachment permits. We require temporary delineation for all markings, and sweeping and access is also an issue that we require for these job sites to be just generally kept in good condition. But some new items for documentation. We'll be providing our encroachment permit applications with daily certification logs, and we'll require weekly recaps via email to our inspectors that really shows all of the daily certifications and any sort of call-outs or issues that have been addressed during that week. Moving on, I mentioned earlier, having kind of a single point of contact is really going to be key with these contractors and submitting these encroachment permit applications. Some of the times our primary contact for a trench restoration issue is different than a utility installation or a traffic control issue. So with that, we're requiring a single 24/7 point of contact for roadway issues. That will be new. I mentioned our response times, 30 minutes within business hours and 1 hour nights, weekends, and holidays, and that we will that contact will help us maintain that complaint log so we can make sure these issues are being addressed in a timely fashion. We have always have good town oversight and enforcement, but we do have some recommendations for improvements. One of them is that if I talked about response times and corrective action, if we're not seeing that response time being met, our public works crew will always stand ready for a call out. We get that through dispatch every once in a while. And if there's a safety concern, we're going to address that safety concern as soon as possible. Each time that happens on one of these jobs, or if they are not able to comply with one of the corrective action request within the timeframe set, we will go ahead and perform the work, charge them for the cost it is to repair, but more importantly, we'll issue a stop work order for 1 working day for the first violation. That's really going to provide a lot of movement as far as energy and ownership to maintain out of this area, because we know, like everything we do, productivity, efficiency is key and forward progress. And so if we're in a situation where the second and third callouts, where we're looking at a 2 or 3 day stop work order in that instance, that's going to really be problematic for the contractors working in Paradise. And so we're hopeful that that is a disincentive to bad performance and a positive incentive to make sure that we're making sure these patches have better oversight by the teams performing the work. Our staff is limited. We have extension of town staff as well, and they do a phenomenal job. But what happens is, with so much oversight on so many different roads, the ability to see everything as it changes, when a shift finishes, when it may not align with availability, or they're in a different part of town, or a storm comes in, we just really identified this protocol as something that will help us all do better for the community.
So this is a citywide stop work order for that
No.
agency or that
The
group?
project, the encroachment permit on that project.
So all they need to do is move those people over to another project for the day and come back.
Hypothetically, I would say that'd be pretty rare. Most of our encouragement permits, are held by a single utility company on a single job. But when there's subcontractors or non-owned forces performing the work, I mean, that would still be problematic. But what you're suggesting is that they could be shifted to another job for a day. That's possible. What we really why we landed on where we did was because when we looked at an alternative method of really having teeth to the ordinance for violations or to the conditions, when we look at fines, and I'm sure the town attorney would agree, the governing fines, $500 per violation and increasing, those can get pretty administrative and difficult.
Absolutely.
And not very effective either, because when we're looking at just to mobilize $5,000 on, maybe one crew just to show up on that day, if that crew can't perform any work, that's really going to get their attention more than a $500 fine.
No, I agree. I just know that it being in the trades, they'll just move them and, it'll
Perhaps
be a
so.
disruption for the
Yep.
day, but it's, because I'd like to see a little more teeth in that, but I don't know what else you'd do.
Yeah, thank you. Well, and then to close on the special conditions, and then glad to take questions and comments, we have final restoration. The town was really one of the first entities in California, or at least in Northern California, that implemented moratorium roads with special standards to go higher when you're in years from 3 to 10. So we're excited to move this forward. We still have those standards, but we're also establishing recommendations for intervals of wintertime final paving. It's very weather dependent. But one of the biggest issues we've seen over the last couple of years is when these bigger jobs on a big street or that serves multiple neighborhoods, the contractors really like to wait for that paving to happen all at once. And then what happens, the early side of that, when a certain street gets done ahead, is they're left with temporary patches way longer than anyone else on that job. And so we're trying to recommend, I don't have a requirement per se to enforce that, but we are providing some positive recommendations that every 500 feet that is completed during winter time, that at least gets, it could be a temporary lift of hot mix asphalt, and then come back and do final paving during the spring when weather and temperatures are better. Last, we did establish a final paving and markings timeline, 15 days from mandrel testing when you're pulling, your wires, proofing your work, or pressure testing if it's a water job. So if your job is done, we need that timeliness within 15 calendar days to get the final paving, weather permitting, done.
Do you have control of that testing?
We don't have control on that testing, but we have oversight and we see it, and we know when it's being performed.
So they can delay that, so they're not into the 15 days?
Hypothetically.
Not that I think like
Yep.
like I'm trying to get away from it, but
Yeah.
those are things that happen.
Yes.
I mean, if we could put some time frame in that, I don't know if you can or not, because
Yeah,
every job's so unique.
It's, not being an expert in how these systems are built, whether it's telecoms or water or electric
Right.
or gas in some, instances, it's really hard for us to have a position on how and when they do their work. But we can say, when you are doing the work, you're going to keep our public safe, and if we're seeing issues in your trenching and your temporary surfacing, we're going to correct it ourselves if you don't do it.
So thank you. I like this. I like what you're doing. I mean, it's a step forward, and it's good. Is this for agencies as well as subcontractors that come up here and work? It's not
Correct.
just,
Yep.
it's just not just the private sector, it's also
No, it'd be, again, if we were doing a trenching job, we would comply with these standards. If it's another public entity, who serves
They
the
would have to
community, they
also.
would have to. If you're pulling a permit, these are special conditions.
Okay, cool.
For temporary surfacing.
Thank you.
This is so.
I wish we would have
had
done
this
it
to
sooner.
begin with. No, I mean, this is so good. Here's a question though. So a lot of these projects, we've issued, now these are not people we've hired, right, necessarily?
Say that
The
again?
trenching and stuff. I mean, like if these people have a contract, right, to do this work, us making them do like the smoothness or any of this stuff, does that open a door for them to submit a written change order? Are these projects that we're funding, or these are?
No, these are requirements that we set forth that when someone pulls an encroachment permit to
Okay.
do work in the town,
Okay.
that they're doing at their own cost, and that they need to factor in
And it includes
compliance.
PID, huh?
It does. Yep.
Okay. Kevin will like that.
It's going to, I will say, the requirements are going to be great. The communication is going to be really great too, with the single point of contact and having the daily inspections. This will be very difficult to enforce. I think deviations of a 1/4 inch in either direction or 3/4 of an inch, conditions will change, but the goal is not to say that conditions won't change, it's that we have expectations on how they're addressed. So I want to be clear that we're still going to see issues with trenches,
Sure.
but we're going to hopefully see the quality of workmanship at the end of the day be higher, and the responsiveness of addressing the issues
If they know they gotta come back and
faster.
fix it right
Yes,
away.
correct.
But I noticed like when they did the cement around the water mains and some of those things that Franklin did on Clark, some of those were wonderful and some of those were not smooth. They were either too high or had a dip in them.
Well, I'll correct, Knife River is the job, I want to make sure our contractors are being treated fairly here. And then also, we do have a standard, speaking of standards, on our valve can lids, we do require those to be set low, because we do not want any instance where a plow is driving through and hits one of these
Yeah,
cans.
this wasn't the valve can.
Okay.
This was the cement ring they
Well,
put
the
around.
collar itself is also
It's gotta be
low.
low
Yeah,
also.
the whole
Yeah, there was,
situation.
some of them, there was quite a difference on
Yeah.
that one stretch of road.
Yeah.
Better
It was a
low than
different
high.
cruise.
Yep. It's all how you drive it, the speed, and the angle of where the
75
water's
miles
flowing.
an hour.
Okay.
Any
So
cards?
with that, glad to answer any other questions the council might have.
Good job, Mark.
Oh, thank you.
Any other questions for Mark?
Any
Any-
cards?
I have no cards on this item.
I move approval. Oh, yes. Sorry.
Doug Munjar, Dadco Construction. I think what you're doing is good on that. I think the time frame, having a point of contact makes good sense. I think that it's going to be a tough one to work on time frame for the contracts that you have to get some of these people to be out there on a fair basis for them as much as for the town, due to the fact 90% of our contracts are outside contractors, outside of the town of Paradise. There's only one or two little companies here that even get a little chance at it. I think that that's going to have to be weighed for them to respond to issues within a time frame that is acceptable to the town and to the public on that. But other than that, I think the other thing that needs to be addressed that for you and for the town is the roads are great as far as getting repaved. I think we've missed a big issue as far as drainage, as far as on the sides of the roads, on ditches and stuff. That's become a major issue. I hear that all the time from the public and what I've been dealing with to help clean up ditches and mud flow. So that should be another issue as far as in your comments, to look at that when they're paving and doing these roads. How to get this water correctly off the roads and not into the issue for the public. Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, I heard from a couple of people too, and if I can't talk about this, tell me, but I know you've explained to me that certain roads, there's rules or there's standards that require striping, center striping, fog lines and all that, and like Bennett Road was one where people complained because there are no fog lines put down, and so, you know, and somebody's telling me about what Steve was telling me about. What street is that, Nunley or whatever, where it goes up part of the way and then it stops, the fog lines. And like with the kind of fog we've had, I mean, I know that maybe it's not part of the federal dollars we have to do that, but can't we find out like what it would take to, if it's a publicly owned road, to go ahead and at least add those fog lines, especially on roads where we have ditches, where if you go off the road, you're in a ditch, and you know, like, even if we have to find the funds to pay for that, since the equipment's out there, it's mobilized, it would be a real help to our citizenry and the safety of our community if we could make sure that we could do that, whether the standards dictate it or not, whether the feds are paying for it or not. You know, just a thought.
I can speak to that if the council would like, or a future item. Yeah.
Huh? I'm trying to get the over. You got it. We'll give it to you.
Okay.
So, any other, no more other cards?
I have no more cards.
I move approval.
I second.
Oh, Mr. Lasan got it.
Motion by Bowen, seconded by Hassan. Councilmember Bowen.
Aye.
Councilmember Colleton.
Aye.
Councilmember Lang.
Aye.
Councilmember Lasan.
Aye.
And Mayor Carter.
Aye.
Motion passes.
How come every time when I speak, the clock comes up here? It's ahead.
Yeah. You don't have to hit you upside the head, do you? Okay, 6G, consider adopting Resolution 2025-83, a resolution of the Town Council, Town of Paradise, approving the plans, specifications, estimates for the on-system road rehab. Mark?
Thank you, Mayor Crowder. Good evening, council. I'm excited to bring forward, I believe, our sixth version of this project as we aim to pave all public roads with recovery funds. So this one is, again, on system. So when you hear on system, think your more collectors and arterials. There are federal aid routes through Federal Highways Administration, through the Emergency Relief Program. For next year, I already mentioned this last calendar year, we're finishing up 30 miles. Next year, we're going to get a sigh of relief and only do about 15 to 17. So about half the work we're winding down. I think that's an overall great sign of recovery. You'll see traversing throughout town, you're probably experiencing more paved roads than not. And if not, it's really close based on your kind of travel habits. But here we go. For this project, this is a 7.3 mile long project with Upper Clark, Upper Pence. You'll see, PG&E's wrapping up their work on Upper Skyway. I'm sorry, I said Upper Clark, Upper Pence. I meant Upper Clark, Upper Skyway. And then also a lot of the utilities are clear on Clark. And then you have Oliver Curve, Oliver Road, a portion of Skyway that has yet to be done. We're skipping between Billy and Wagstaff as that's part of a larger project to widen Skyway with a center two-way left turn lane. And then, let's see, we've got a portion of Elliott as well being completed in the spring with this effort. So I said it's 7.3 miles long. It's $12.7 million in recovery funds. That comes through the Emergency Relief Program, and our 25% match essentially comes through CDBG-DR. We're asking for approval to advertise for bids tonight. We like to do this so that we can get on the calendars, get the best prices, get the best schedule for the work to take place next year. This work would be forecasted for July. If this does get approved tonight, we're anticipating awarding a contract after the holidays, well into 2026 at the February council meeting. With that, I'd be glad to answer any questions the council might have on this item.
That's going to keep me awake at nights. Hey, what about this section between Billy and Wagstaff on Skyway?
Yes.
When is that going to get done?
So we're, like I said, moving forward on the widening of Skyway. So we're trying to leverage all of the funding sources to their highest and best use. And this section, we've received the funding through FHWA to rehab the pavement itself. We're leveraging active transportation funds to add the bike path and connect the sidewalks on this stretch. And then we've also have CDBG-DR funds to add the center two-way left turn lane in this section.
Between Billy and
Between
Wagstaff.
Billy and Wagstaff.
So that'll be next year?
It'll be in the future.
Yeah, okay.
It likely 2027, 8. Right now, we're working really closely with our consulting team, Coastland, with PG&E. They're looking to get clear of this area, but that's requiring heavy coordination because they're going ahead of us with the undergrounding of utilities. And to the point that was just made on the previous item, we're adding more storm drainage work on this section. And so we have to make sure in advance of our project that we design our facilities, our storm drain facilities, and then PG&E goes around them proactively, even though they go in ahead of us, so that there's no relocations required. So a lot of coordination. That job is further out, 2027, 2028 at this point for Billy to Wagstaff on Skyway.
Any other questions from Mark? Any cards?
I have no cards on this item.
I move approval.
Second.
Motion by Lasson, seconded by Colleton. Councilmember Bullen.
Aye.
Councilmember Colleton.
Aye.
Councilmember Lang.
Aye.
Councilmember Lasson.
Aye.
And Mayor Carter.
Aye.
Motion passes.
6H, consider adopting resolution number 2025-84 for plan specifications and estimate for off-system road rehabilitation. Mark.
Thank you, Mayor Crowder. Good evening again, Council. So this item is nearly identical as far as the form and function of what we're approving tonight. It's the plans and specifications for our off-system. So conversely, this is going to be for your residential roads that do not qualify as the more busier collectors and arterials that are funded through federal highways. This project is funded through FEMA and then also has the match through CDBG-DR. This project is estimated at $10.2 million, and it will serve about 10.3 miles. Our efficiency is higher on the FEMA off-system because our roads are narrower. The primary beneficiaries of this project, and being our last FEMA-funded project for road rehab, is the Redbud, Crestview, Crestmore area off of Valley View Drive, that neighborhood, last portion of Honey Run, Foster, Wayland, and a portion of Scottwood as well, some areas off of Clark Road, American Way, McHale, Easy, and a few outliers throughout the town. But overall, really excited to bring this one to a close. And being that I said everything I need to say about why we're here and what this means in the schedule, it still applies. This is just for a FEMA-funded project instead of federal highways. So I'd be glad to answer any other questions the council might have on this item.
Questions? Cards?
I have no cards on this item.
Okay, thank you, Mark.
I move approval.
Second.
Motion by Lasson, seconded by Colleton. Councilmember Bullen.
Aye.
Councilmember Colleton.
Aye.
Councilmember Lang.
Aye.
Councilmember Lasson.
Aye.
And Mayor Carter.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay. Item 7A1, discuss the CDBG MIT RIP allocation for evacuation route permanent changeable message signs. That's a council initiated by Councilman Culleton.
Yeah, I asked to talk, I thought Mark brought this to us over a year ago, I guess it was.
March 2024.
March of 24. So, and what it was is there's a $10 million grant we applied for, was available, and it was to put private road signs wherever they intersect public roads. The initial report we got was also to fix a storm drain, or maybe two, and then it was to build these changeable message signs that would be located on all 4 escape routes at both the top and the bottom. I believe that's what it was, correct?
That's how it started,
Yeah.
and then
And
council
then we
did.
reduced it to 3.
Yep.
And so I just had this brought on here just simply, and I talked to Mark about it, just to see whether or not the 3 signs will cost $5 million?
Correct.
Huh?
Yes, I have a quick summary with some slides.
Okay, that'd be great. Yeah, 'cause I
and
know
so I
Mike
can
was
provide
also-
some
that'd be
update
great.
because
Thank
not
you.
everyone in the room or on the council was present for that decision in March of 2024, and I'd be glad to answer questions and fill in some color here. So in March 2024, Town Council approved the applications and the implementation of 3 CDBG-DR MITRIP. That's our favorite acronym. That's Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery and Mitigation Mitigation Resilient Improvement Program. Resiliency Improvement Program. Sorry, the MIT throws me off. It's not an acronym. Okay, those projects. The 3 projects the council approved were the private road identification safety project, about $1 million, I've rounded, where of the private roads that intersect public roads, we will have better signage and consistency, and I'll show a quick slide. The evacuation route changeable message sign project, $5.4 million, and storm drain resiliency project phase 1 being $3.9 million. Here's the private roads project. You can see the purple. It's very difficult to see, but the purple are all of our private roads in town. You've seen a wide variety of private road street name signs throughout town. We're looking at ways that we can incorporate, one, standardization and resiliency for our first responders on a day-to-day basis, but also communicate, whether it's through the color of the sign or the type of sign on these private roads, if they provide any egress or evacuation benefit, or if they're dead ends. And so there's a different decision point that'll come forward for the council's consideration on what that looks like, but that's in general what that project is like. And then how the council voted was to advance these changeable message sign projects. And so what that means is on our 3 evacuation routes of Skyway, Clark, and Pence, that the concept was to install message signs that can be used during emergency situations and non-emergency situations for public safety benefits, whether that's weather, traffic impacts, or community messaging around wildfire preparedness, that we would do corridor signs along Skyway at the top end or the bottom end that would really communicate during an actual emergency if contraflow was being activated or one-way evacuation, use all lanes. And the type of message sign, we're not thinking, I-80 in Sacramento, the drive high, get a DUI signs, nothing of that magnitude. We're thinking something more contextually appropriate for our rural roads and nature, but some sort of electronic message sign that would help communicate to residents during an emergency on instructions that may not be readily apparent. Road closed ahead, one-way evacuation active, or resources incoming, Paradise, detour, kneel. Something short, something effective, something to layer on top of all of the different mitigation efforts that we've been doing to increase our resiliency in Paradise. So that project stands on its own, and that is the genesis of the discussion tonight, but I'll fill in the last project really quick. $3.9 million was allocated to 2 larger storm drain projects, one being Pence Road, south of Pearson Road. That is one of our deepest ditches that are right there on the roadside edge, to be filled in and have underground storm drain infrastructure. And then also across the Oliver Curve, there's a major need there for upsizing because through, as was mentioned earlier, through the Camp Fire and the disaster, we're seeing, you just look at this color, it's brown. That brown is from all of the potential for erosion and runoff and issues we're going to continue to have. But with that, you're seeing less vegetation, less uptake of the water, and more runoff. And so these pipes are undersized in different areas, and they're informed by our storm drain master plan that tells us what to do and where. So $3.9 million was allocated towards storm drain resiliency. Now, within the last month, I'll give kind of an update here about where we are. Private road street name sign, we're doing that work in-house, and environmental design is underway. Evacuation route changeable message sign project, $5.4 million. We're prepared to start environmental and design by consultant team, Jacobs. They stand ready. They're very well informed about the needs of the project and finding the right balance. We have not signed the notice to proceed on that task order, knowing that this was a discussion we'd like to have. So it's a timely discussion if we can get some affirmation to keep going, or to have a longer discussion about tabling this or holding on moving that project forward, we can absolutely do that. The Storm Drain Resiliency Project, we have issued task orders to Dockin to go ahead and start the design and environmental for that project. So with tonight's request to discuss it, I was asked 2 questions by Councilmember Culleton that I have answers for. And I already mentioned one of them. Can these signs be used for other public messages during non-emergency hours? And so the answer is yes, limited to public safety messages, i.e. community messaging campaigns such as One Last Spark for wildfire risk, special weather events, community traffic impacts, and similar. So last is the question is, if council decides to abandon this project altogether, could these funds be reallocated somewhere else, i.e. more storm drain projects? Or something else. And I did get an answer, although here it says probably. I have a definitive answer that says yes, it can be assigned to one of the 2 other projects, private road street name signs, which we don't need the budget, or storm drain resiliency projects, which we could use the budget. With that last in mind, I do have some new news that has not come forward before the council yet because it's so new. In late November, staff learned that an additional $8.6 million and additional CDBG-DR MIT-RIP funds would be allocated to the town for the Storm Drain Resiliency Project Phase 2. So we're forming that project and going to be able to deliver combined $12.5 million in storm drain projects over the next 5 years. So that is something to say that this project set is diverse and it's addressing multiple resiliency and mitigation needs. But certainly I'm always willing to take the direction of the council on their priorities moving forward.
Thanks, Mark. That was really accurate. So in the meeting we had in March of '24, Councilmember Bolin also, we have problems with storm drains every winter. And what did you tell me, if we were to fix all of our storm drain issues, what is the price tag for that?
Yeah, so our 2022 storm drain master plan, I believe, identified about $40 million worth of projects. I'd say the need goes higher.
Yeah.
But, you know, we are a rural community with a lot of open ditches, and it's very costly, very expensive, and not without its own set of issues. And so I do want to provide some balance there, that there is high need for investment in a storm drain. I'm not aware of any project like what we've already secured that's ever been done, and since 1979 with the Skyway Assessment District. That's been done for type of urbanization of our storm drain systems. But the need is high, and that's what your point is there, and I completely agree.
And I wanted to have us talk about this as a council, because, you know, I get the sign idea, and yeah, it could be used. It very seldom is going to be used. And my point back then in '24, and it's the same now, with all of our new building codes, with everything we're doing with what happened to our topography from the Camp Fire, it won't be in my lifetime. And for those conditions to recreate themselves, that if there were another fire of that nature, perfect storm, would necessitate a mass evacuation with contraflow and everything else, the chances of that in anybody in this room's lifetime is probably slim to none. We don't allow people to, it's not going to be reforested like it was. So my question was, how, if we have monies available and if they can be used in other ways, how is that really going to serve the community? And a lot of things that we didn't know in that presentation were, what are the annual costs of operating with a sign? Do we have to acquire land? Do we have to pay for some land to situate a sign in Lower Skyway? Because some of these locations would be outside of our jurisdiction. So that's why I wanted to bring it up, just for discussion, to see whether or not we at this council at this time think that we should continue this project, or if we have $40 million worth of storm drains, another $5 million would let us do more work. And not, I just, here's a sign you may use not even once a month.
Well, I would say it could replace one of the signs that we use, 8 months out of the year, whether it's for the One Less Spark campaign, like I mentioned, mow before 10 a.m. We've been doing those on Lower Skyway coming into town for months. I mean, fire season goes all the way,
Yeah,
from
but-
March to December now.
Right.
So there's a need for public messaging. This is an option that it can help increase safety in our community. In the actual evacuation, the core mission of these signs is to, when our public safety personnel are deploying one-way evacuation, is to provide one key communication. While we can say we hope it may never happen, if it did and we need to do a one-way evacuation, the ability to say, all lanes open,
Yeah.
evacuate all lanes.
In that
something similar.
campfire, you couldn't have seen the signs. It was pitch black, okay? And the other thing that we learned from that, that's the only time we've used contraflow in my 40-some years in town. I think maybe in '08, we tried it for a very short period of time, but it wasn't a mass evacuation. So, and the other thing is, when you do that, there are so many places, like a stop sign at Black Olive and Foster, there are so many places, if you don't have personnel there, I mean, those are my practical common sense thinking. During the campfire, the sky was black. I don't care if you had a sign up 15 feet in the air, you're not going to be able to see it. You got to have personnel directing traffic and some of those things. And it's just, I understand it's a good idea. The messaging signs, the other thing is human nature. So we have these portable signs that work just fine, mow before 10, no sparks, 1 spark and all that. They're static. And even if you turn this thing on all the time during fire season, there's a cost to us from the general fund, and they're static. And once people see them, they ignore them. It's just like billboards. If it never changes, it's there, you see it, and then you just drive by it. And we have the ability with the portable signs to put them out and move them around like we do with the speed sign. We move that around so that it gets people's attention. So there's ways to address that concern, I think, with equipment that we already have. So, I mean, that's just, again, this is not just, it's just for a discussion here with my colleagues.
Absolutely. Yep.
I would add, I would echo Woody's sentiments. I would equate this, for simplicity, to a need versus a want. The signs, could be great if we need them, but we absolutely need maintenance and repairs on our drainage system. I mean, it's already come up this evening. We have significant drainage issues. I could list probably a majority of those, 40 that need to be replaced. And it's fabulous that we got this additional 8.6 million, but we know we need a lot more to update those. And we're updating all of our other road infrastructure. So let's do it right. Let's redirect those funds from the signs to drainage would be my opinion.
I kind of agree, and I did support that, the signs first time around. And the more I think about it, the more I'm seeing with the culverts and what have you, I'm kind of thinking that money would be better spent doing the culverts as well.
Yeah, I'm in that same boat. I voted for the signs. We just have to recognize if we don't do the signs now, it won't happen, because we're close to the fire and we recognize the importance of it. A council 10 years from now probably won't, unless money flows downhill from Sacramento and they have nothing else to spend it on. So the likelihood.
Drinking before the meeting?
No, I'm not drinking. So, but I can accept that fact, because there's other ways of notifying people, and I don't know what the technology is going to be like 10 years or 15 years from now to notify people. So I would agree that the storm drains is a clear and present issue. It's something I see when we have these heavy rains overflowing into the streets and potentially causing hydroplaning and accidents that can happen today, as opposed to this fire. As Woody pointed out, he doesn't think it'll happen in his lifetime, but we're not sure how long he's going to live anyway. So, but no, so yeah, I would agree with that.
Keep it up, it might not be much after that.
And we've also made other significant efforts in notifications, early notifications, and other communication methods. Yeah, with the sirens, with all of the zone signs, with our updated platform for electronic notifications. So we've pieced together a little bit stronger fabric of that piece too. So.
Yep.
So what do we do with this as a discussion thing? If we have consensus, it's not an agenda, I mean, it's not a voting item, right?
Yeah.
It's not.
We just give direction.
Well, the question is if you want to give, if there's something that would need to be voted on, then it would need to come back on a future agenda. If you want to give direction to have some study and additional information for Mark to report back to the council, then you can do that. But if,
Yeah, so from what I understand in the answers I received from HCD on this is that, yes, the funds can be reallocated to the street name sign or the mitigation for the storm drain projects. And so what I can do is I will not issue a notice to proceed for the design of these projects. And in the meantime, I will also schedule a meeting with the HCD to formally explore reallocating the funds and finding out what that looks like. And if there's an action item that I can act on at the next meeting, we will, or I'll give you an update.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
no problem.
Just know that, I mean, probably that's it for the signs.
Yep.
Yeah.
But we're not going to see that ability to come back again anymore, so
Yep.
that's a decision that, you know, I don't know if we need them or not. I agree, the drainage is an issue, and I deal with it too, and we got drainage
Always,
issues that
yeah.
we never had before.
Yep.
There's things that have happened since the 40s, never had a drainage problem, now we do have a drainage problem. So there's things popping up everywhere, but the sign thing's done, and I just hope we don't get to a point we go, boy, I wish we had that. That would have been nice in that situation, whatever the situation is. So we're walking away from that if we do this, so.
Yep. Yes, understood, and I'll say the project was born out of community input, you know, through all of the different ways of presenting ideas to address our resiliency needs. But our needs change, and this is reflective of that, and we're glad to take that direction.
And who knows, in the future, there may be grant opportunities again. I mean, you never know.
Well, and I think we need to look at continued messaging and communication, as you mentioned, Vice Mayor. Communication changes, right? Technology changes. I think we need to keep our eyes open, new ways to communicate. I like redundancy, so, I mean, that's why I like this project. I like, and I was, you know, down at the campfire in Chico and saw the traffic flow on the Skyway and how we're trying to deal with it. It was problematic for a number of different reasons. And I like as much redundancy as we can in an emergency. However, I get the perspective that these storm drains are really maybe the priority. But having said that, I think we still need to continue to look for those opportunities to communicate to our public during emergencies. And that's something, an ongoing effort of ours, for sure.
I mean, we learned in the '08 fire, when we had hard closure at Bruce Road, and we had people that were coming up here to drive buses to evacuate people, drivers, that because of the hard closure, were not allowed to come up in town. They had to go up 32 and come across.
So I was a lieutenant at the time. I came up to that fire, and I came up the Skyway and did not have a lot of communication. I went through about, I'd say, a quarter mile of smoke, not being able to see 4 feet in front of my patrol car, and the guardrails on
You
fire.
talking about '08 or?
Yes, 08. 08.
Yeah, but I'm saying that one of the things that we learned from that fire was we had a hard closure down there at Bruce, and so like drivers that were coming up here had to go around to get
Right,
into town to evacuate people. So as a result of that, we developed a pass, so there's a whole system that we developed of passes and things so that there was, if people showed up, say, hey, they were let through. And that's what keeps evolving. Like now we have the towers, so we have the ability to say things, and we have people are going to put things in their homes that both visually and sound. So we keep making, I agree with you, and I think we should still look for money. I don't think the signs are evil or a bad idea. I just know there's a cost associated with them, and I'm always concerned about legacy costs, because someday there's not going to be a piggy bank. Someday what's going to be depending on us, the citizens that are paying the taxes on our properties and buying in our local stores, they're going to support the police department, the fire department, and the services that we rely on and why we want to live.
And my only point was, this is not the end of our ability to find ways, new ways to communicate with our community. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
You said that so quickly. How come you couldn't have said that? I'm just.
What did I do?
Nothing.
That was quick.
That was quick. That was good.
Well, they have a timer. The clock keeps coming up on this.
I wish it was. on.
Okay. So, council reports on committee representations. Greg, we'll start with you.
No LAFCO this month. That was canceled. Made every other meeting. Today we had the solid waste. That is always fun. Thank you, Susan. So that'll all start up. Our new system starts up after the first of the year. And that's just something we're going to have to start dealing with, and it's going to be a good thing. So we just got to get communication out. But anyway, I don't have anything.
I was able to do another one of the neighbor-to-neighbor paint nights. I still highly encourage anybody who hasn't had a chance to do that to stop by Paradise Art Center on Friday nights at 6 o'clock. They're free. And then I was able to participate in the Rotary Career Expo at Paradise High School, which was really exciting. I think the town was there also represented. And my favorite, the COC committee meetings. The CTE Advisory Board meeting at Paradise Unified. And then we hosted a roundtable discussion of investors and developers here through our Downtown Development Committee. So that was productive. And then several sewer committee meetings, and then the light parade. I was able to decorate my truck like a Christmas pickle and drive it in the light parade, which was always fun. And that's it.
Yes, I attended a CareNet banquet and fundraiser. I also attended the Civil Air Patrol annual awards ceremony that was held at the Veterans Hall. I also, with Woody, conducted an interview for the Measure V candidate. We also, with Mayor Crowder and I, attended the Healthcare Committee meeting. I attended the coffee with the first responders at Starbucks. Anytime there's coffee involved, I'm there. And finally, I attended the motorcycle toy run and the Christmas lighted truck parade.
I'll have to say on the truck parade, we set a new standard on that. And that was done very well. And I think everything went very, very cool with that. Anyway, we got a new standard set. It's a new bar.
I think having the road close on Skyway really...
That was huge.
It made it a much nicer event to go. I know it caused some problems for folks.
Now, I don't know if we can call it a truck light parade anymore, but...
Yeah,
but,
no, because
but it was a lot of fun. No, it was fun.
Go-karts. Yeah, it did play a little havoc with the people that came to the Holiday in Paradise event at the Performing Arts Center. They didn't know how to get, well, where do I go? How to do it? So, but they'll work that out. So apparently I don't know that I went anywhere. I think I attended something, but I don't remember what it was. I'll be 81 next week, so that's why. And apparently I didn't go to any fire safe council meeting because I didn't know I was supposed to, I guess. But I'll do better next year. I should write things down. Yeah, no, it's all good.
So I went to a couple ribbon cuttings, a habitat wall signing, which was really neat to attend and listen to the people that are going to move into the house, and it's just such a great thing. They're doing Habitat's just doing great things in this community. I went to the Good for Fire event, which was Fire Safe was one of the sponsors, and it was on kind of a wet day. CAL FIRE was there, and it basically was showing you 3 types of burning, broadcast burning being one of them. Very informative, very well attended. I got to meet Dimitri, who's a gentleman that walked from Altadena here. I met him at the sign, and then we went to the Hope Plaza, and then the following day, we had a little event here with some town staff and what have you, about a 2-hour meeting, and he asked questions, got answers of what happened here, and I think left with a lot of good, valuable information. Ron had said the healthcare meeting, we had that, a couple sewer meetings. Went to the chamber installation dinner, probably the best attended one that I've ever been to, and I tried to go to all of them. There were about 200 people there, so it was really something. The light parade, everybody comment on it. It was really great. It's the first time that I haven't judged, and I actually got to watch the parade, and it was really great. I really enjoyed it. So that's all I've got. Future agenda items, anybody?
I would like to request that at a future council meeting that we discuss potential incentives for economic development. And if the staff could bring back kind of a framework for what is legal or what we're able to do, that would be great.
Anybody else? Okay. With that, item 8A, Town Manager Report.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to wish all of you, all our staff, and all our community a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Well, thank you. Same to you. No closed session. With this, we're going to adjourn this meeting, take a 5-minute break. Don't go anywhere. We still have our, yes, successor agency meeting. So, thank you.
Don't eat that on the way home.
Yeah,
Oh,
no.
yeah.
I will not eat that on the way home.